Footy's back, baby. We're going to wrap up the start of both the NRL and AFL seasons. Australia keep their impeccable record alive in the cricket against the Black Caps, thanks to the Bison and Alex Carey in the fourth innings. NBA playoffs just around the corner. A huge week in the NFL off-season with the retirement of Aaron Donald. A few big quarterback moves and the running bell carousel spins around. UFC 299 from Miami, Sugar Sean gets an official win against Chino Vera. And the final round featuring a bit of F1 and soccer. This is On The Esky, an Aussie sports podcast. We like our Aussie sports. We like our US sports. We like to have a bit of a laugh and a dribble. Have timestamps on the YouTube, and we do have socials. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. I'd like to start this show by shouting a beer to commend excellent work in the sporting arena in the week that's gone. Shauno, how are you, and who are you shouting this week?
Very good, very good. And my shout of beer this week is going to go to Anthony Joshua, answering the call, essentially, to take on Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia. Got the knockout in the second round after two previous knockdowns in the first and one in the second to really show his quality and skill over Ngannou. I think it kind of really cemented him at the top of the heavyweight division, but also showed the levels, I guess, into it. A well-prepared fighter in Joshua. He is well-trained, and they showed a lot of really good vision of him in the back, preparing, warming up, practicing that combination of throwing that hand, practicing because the way Francis throws his jab or likes to paw at the jab, as in block Joshua's jab, he was lulling him into it, and that's essentially how we got him 3 times and knocked him down. Is the skill and level of the boxer. He really made Francis do what he wanted and knocked him out. And with that, I guess that puts him straight at the top of the division, and we'll get, the winner of Usyk and Fury, which is May.
I think May,
a couple of months away. So, that fight's going to happen soon. After, of course, Fury had the cut and they canned it, so they've rebooked that. But Fury looked in great shape, but Joshua showed he's also in great shape and still has the power. And if he hit you with a big shot, you're going down.
What about Francis? What's next on the cards for him? Do you reckon he'll go around and chase the big money again in boxing, or the PFL is calling and he may get a reasonable payday to return to MMA, albeit in a different arena?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's got the fight locked in with the heavyweight champion for PFL. So that was rumours of the next fight post this one anyway, to go back and do that. But he's basically said he's not done with boxing, so he wants to have a third boxing fight. Against who would be the question.
Usyk, just go all three.
Yeah, that's right.
Names.
Yeah. or take the loser, maybe.
Yeah.
Say if Fury loses, then maybe get the rematch against Fury. Because I don't think, like Joseph Parker won the co-main on that fight card as well to beat Zhang. So he's right there at the top, but I don't think that it's the sort of fight that Francis is looking for. He's probably trying to get those top 3 guys at this stage. I think that's the current plan.
He owns share of PFL as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's the head of PFL Africa as well, to try and create the second. So I think he's probably got a bit of ownership and also has a big stake in growing MMA into the African continent.
Yep. Yeah. So he could quite easily just sit back and train up the next generation of fighters as well if he really wanted to. Yeah.
He's also 37. So
he's getting up there too.
Sort of creeps up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he's made 30 mil in his last 2 boxing fights. So there's that too.
Yeah,
100%.
And getting knocked out like that from Anthony Joshua, you're never really the same again either. Yeah,
it'd be interesting because he had a granite chin leading up to that. So it'd be interesting to see if that affects him going forward. But he's, of course, definitely a talent and definitely a big name that draws a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
I'm going to shout the Italian rugby team a few cold Peronis. They are, for the first time in their history, ranked above the Wallabies. A little bit unfair on the Wallabies, haven't been playing much of rugby of late. But the Italians are 9th, when the Wallabies slipped down to 10th. went all right in the Six Nations, racked up wins against Scotland and Wales, and had a draw against France, and only just lost to England. So it was really only Ireland who won the whole thing. That gave him a good touch up. So, look, things looking good for Italian rugby, certainly becoming much more competitive and not just the easy beats in the Six Nations that they used to be. Yep. Actually held their own in 4 of their 5 fixtures. And
no more Craig Gowers going around for them.
and a few little Australian exports there to the old Italian rugby team. But it seems like they're certainly holding their own in Europe and winning games and drawing with France, who are pretty highly favoured as well. So it's pretty impressive stuff. Be interesting to see come a few months' time if the Wallabies will still be ranked below them. I think that's a little stiff, but that's how the rankings work. And congrats to the Italians for jumping up into 9th position in the World Rugby rankings.
Sounds good. So this week I'm shouting Oliver Bearman a beer, albeit he will need to make sure he doesn't get behind the wheel of an F1 car after drinking said beer. So he debuted for Ferrari at the Saudi Grand Prix. Unfortunately, Carlos Sainz had to withdraw from the race during free practice from a bout of appendicitis, so he had to
have surgery
for. So late call up. I don't know how many laps he got in practice. Ended up qualifying 11th, just missing out on Q3 there, and ended up finishing the race 7th, becoming the youngest F1 driver to score points, not to win a race or not to get pole, but to score points in a F1 race. But massive props to him. He's currently, obviously the reserve driver for Ferrari as well for Haas.
Yep.
Did some testing for Haas last year, obviously putting up impressive times, enough to get him a seat with Ferrari as a reserve driver. So huge props to him. Massive F1 future for him if he can secure a seat somewhere over the next couple of years.
Yeah, there's a lot of young fellas banging down the door for seats in the F1, and there's only 20 of them, and they're well sought after.
That's it, yeah. I think still racing in Formula 2 as well.
Yes, he's doing Formula 2.
So, yeah.
So funny seeing the difference between a F1 18 and a rugby league 18. we were just talking about Hammer pre-show and how he's only 22 and so accomplished, and we're like, geez, because he debuted obviously when he was 18 and a bit. This kid is 18 going on 14 in terms of his looks, but obviously a weapon behind the wheel and's got a bright future ahead of him. So keep an eye out, F1 enthusiasts, for Oliver Bearman.
Yeah. Pretty funny you mentioned that as well, like obviously that kid look.
Very boyish looks, doesn't he?
Had to go back to school the week after the race.
So he
had his school bag on walking down to school. It was cool. I think they got the whole school to cheer him on as he came into school that morning.
Cameras going, hopefully.
Definitely.
That's it.
Did you see the Carlos Sainz recreate the appendice photo? So he's...
Oh, yes, I did, because was it his father
and his grandfather. So his father also went through the exact same thing. So had his grandfather on the phone. So they reenacted it where Carlos Sainz Sr. was on the phone and then Carlos Sainz was in the hospital bed. So obviously a well-known thing for... And it looks like a similar sort of age that happened for both of them. But they eventually had their appendicitis and had to pump it out. So a bit of an interesting and funny image there to check out for that one.
That's it. And we'll cover the results from the F1 race later on, as Pat mentioned before.
In a couple of hours.
Yeah. And who's our mop of the week?
Mop of the week goes to an expletive-ridden post-match interview, or the kerfuffle, really, that ended up from tonight's fight night over in Vegas between Brian Battle and Ange Lusa. It ended up being a no contest for eye pokes, and then there was a bunch of expletives that came out. It was Battle that thought he had been unfairly done by. And then said something along the lines of "you're an effing pussy" to Lusa, and then some exchange happened, and a few people were having to jump in the ring, including
security.
Security, and Michael Bisping trying to get an interview and trying to manage things as best as he could in the octagon post fight.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah, go, Jim.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I suppose the big controversy around here, obviously with anything like an eye poke or a nut shot, is how much acting goes on the receiving end to get that no contest.
Especially in a fight, you're getting heavily dominated to that point, which I think was the caveat here with Battle. Is he was winning this fight handily over Loser, who essentially, by the commentary, and I think they had Dom and DC on it at the time, we're talking about like he essentially quit and he wanted out, and eye poke to get a no contest instead of a loss was an easy one. I think Bisman had some words for Battle there at the end. And of course, Bisman famously dude that has one eye. so he's just like, you leave it all in the cage, in my opinion. You fight on even after eye poke. So, I haven't seen the video of how bad the eye poke was. Was it like, 2 inches deep in the eye socket kind of eye poke? Or
his eye didn't look that bad post-fight, if that's anything to go off.
Rays. So, I think there was some very tough words there for Battle for Lucer, and I think Lucer's kind of words as well. I'll kill you, like I'm going to effing kill you. After you've just been losing for 10 minutes in a fight with the bloke, doesn't sort of work well. But I guess you never know. You'll pull up outside somewhere and with a bit of extra ammunition, if you know what I mean.
No, they'll run it back in a sanctioned area.
I doubt it. I think a lot of people
don't condone that behaviour.
I see Dana might even look at this like, it's a no contest, but we know who the winner was. And they'll move on from this pretty quickly.
Yeah, all the post-match stuff, him in interviews saying that Lucer wanted to find a way to get out of their fight, et cetera, et cetera. A few different vids that you can check out there. So not the best look for the UFC, and hopefully Brian Battle gets his just desserts in some sort of rematch or getting a higher opponent in his next fight.
Agreed.
Yep, 100%.
All right, let's talk some rugby league.
He's getting stretched off here.
We do have the AFL in the background. We'll keep an eye on that as that unfolds, but we are talking rugby league for now. We did talk about Vegas and had our season preview in the last ep, so go check that out if you want to see our thoughts on Sydney teams. We did the non-Sydney the ep before that, but we'll go back through round 1, round 2, outside of the Vegas games, and the Raiders started things off really well a couple Thursday nights ago. Bit of a scrappy game from the Knights' perspective. They only completed at 68%. But Zach Hosking, we'll talk about him again in just a minute. He looks like one of the underrated buys of the season, doesn't he?
Yep, definitely.
Hudson Young had the sin bin on Kalen Ponga. Do you think there was much in that?
It didn't look like too much, but I guess Ponga is a bit of a protected species, of course, with his well-documented concussions. So it was probably unnecessary. Maybe it was sold a little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit of a bump there, but Hudson Young's running backwards and Ponga kind of gets bounced off another guy, flips around, and he can't disappear, but at the same time,
what's he meant to do?
Yeah, there was not a huge amount in it. It's not like he gave him a little bit of shove, and maybe there's a bit of forearm involved in that shove. So it wasn't good visuals. So I get the sin bin, but it wasn't the worst offence that I've seen from the 2 rounds of rugby league so far.
Certainly one of those ones that looks worse in slow motion than live.
Plus Hudson's got priors, so I get it as well.
Definitely has priors. But didn't cost the Raiders at all. They were far better side up there at McDonald Jones in that one. Sharks got a win against the Warriors, and AFB, they'll be licking their lips to see what he can do for them when he goes to Shark Park in 2025. 220 run meters, 6 tackle busts, a try. He is so sneaky for scoring tries for a front rower. Geez, if you want to have a little punteroo and try and get a few odds, AFB always one that's fun to chuck into a multi. Friday night, 2 Fridays ago, that was the Storm shut out the Panthers. The first time ever, so in New South Wales Rugby League, ARL, NRL history, that the defending premiers have been held scoreless in round 1. And the Storm continue that immaculate record of not losing a round one game since 2001.
That's wild.
Incredible stuff.
Is that when Bellamy started with them?
I know he hasn't lost one, so I think he's actually started more recent than that. I doubt he goes all the way back to 2001. He goes back to maybe like 04, 05,
Yeah,
maybe.
that sounds about right.
Monks will get it, but he hasn't. He's never lost.
He's never lost
in round
yeah,
one.
yeah.
That's the other half of the stat. There is bellyache.
Yeah. And there was a bit of controversy at the end of this with a disallowed try for Penrith. But again, it didn't seem like too much in it.
Just a round one, so can't imagine that it's going to cost him a 4-peat premiership.
Exactly.
03 was that Bellamy? Did I say that?
03. Yeah, 03.
Incredible. This is his 21st year with the Storm. Eels way too good for the Dogs. They completed nearly 90%. Bryce Cartwright. He's
what do we think of the Eels, Dave?
Great point. If you're looking for our thoughts on the Eels, you won't find it in the.
We forgot about the Dave Grohl.
You know what fucked me up there?
Right.
I counted 8 teams the week before. I counted 8 teams for Sydney.
And you're like 16, I'm sorted.
16, we're sweet. I'd done the prep, but no one pulled me up when we went through.
Who cares about Parramatta?
It was
Besides the legal
alphabetical,
offence.
so they would have been somewhere between
Penrith.
Penrith and going back up the other way. See, this is what's fucked us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I
Sydney,
missed him out.
Sydney.
I just can't figure it out.
Cronulla, I think,
Yes.
because there's a lot down the bottom.
Yeah.
St George, South, Sydney,
Yeah.
Roosters, West.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. There's a bit of fucking alphabetical chat for you. How do we think the Eels will go this year, given that we've already seen them play twice?
They made the 8 last year, didn't they?
Just missed.
Just missed. That's right. They're one of the teams that just missed.
Yeah.
Still got Mitch.
Do we still have the list up? There we go.
Yeah, but
Well, we have that list, so you can go to it there.
Yeah.
I think
I think, you, Monks had them 11, Peps had them 9. I think I had them 11. So we had 11, 9, 11. I feel like it's kind of where they are. They're one of those teams that, again, I don't think they really signed anyone of note.
Very quiet.
Very quiet. Again, and probably a reason why we forgot about them. They've got Moses there. They've still got the King. Their spine's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I think they'll still be good, but I feel like that's just where they are. They're in that middle pack of teams that may sneak into the 8.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
And it's so tough between like 5 and 12.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got that sort of that top tier.
Shit, even 5 to 14.
Yeah.
That's how
look how
wide
the Raiders have started. And
Yep.
we had them as a bottom tier team.
Yep.
I always had them as taking a massive step back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're looking better than we expected.
It started against the slow Knights and Tigers, so
Yeah, that's true.
caveat.
Yeah. I think Para on their day are definitely like a 5th or 6th sort of quality team.
Got talent.
I just feel like there was too many teams that improved their top 30, whereas the Eels haven't.
100% agree.
Having said that, looked pretty good last week against the Dogs and weren't disappointing in the Penrith game, which we'll get to in a second.
Yep.
Tale of 2 different games for the Dragons. They looked really quite good last week against the Titans, 28-4. Got a few lads' hopes up for the
Grand final
2024
tickets
season.
being bought.
Yeah, lit off, etc. Zach Lomax looked good out on the wing, 266 run meters, a try. But there's a few rumours circling that he's unhappy on the wing. I suppose getting paid a lot of money to play on the wing.
A lot of scrutiny on him as well.
Kind of getting fullback money. Having said that, he's been pretty good in his first 2 showings, so hopefully they can keep him happy playing out there.
Well, I think
looks like their best 1 to 5 with Sloan wearing the 1. I think.
Yeah, I think his agent asked if they could negotiate with the Eels, and the Dragons said no. He's with us. He's contracted. So that's, I guess, the end of that story. But it just shows that that he's definitely a little bit unhappy being out on the wing. But I saw some interesting stuff about Flanagan kind of sitting him down and going through like, these are your numbers from last year.
Yeah.
You weren't
calling the average winger. Essentially.
Average
centre. I
think he was 22 or 34 or something. I think was the stat. So not completely bottom tier, but he's not top tier.
Yeah.
He's getting paid like the number 1 centre at the moment, and then kind of you're just below average and. You need to pick your game up. We're going to put you on the wing, and I think he's responded to that so far. His hit ups and his meters have been excellent in the first 2 games. Just didn't turn in a result today, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Cowboys look really good in their win against the Finns. Val Holmes, 180 run meters. Zach Labert looks like he might have got a starting centre wrapped up for the year. And the Cowboys
What was
finished...
that game played at Suncorp?
Because Finns play half their games at Suncorp
I guess
just
so.
because of crowd numbers, etc.
I guess a local derby, makes sense.
Yeah, they did it last year too. They only
Yeah.
played
I know.
half their games because we were looking at that KO Stadium and it only seats like 10,500 or something. So, I think it's just
when the Lonely Dragons come up, we'll play there.
we'll smack the shit out of them. Into round 2, Broncos and Souths come back from Vegas. Broncos look pretty good with Cobbo and Reece Walsh. A few concerning scenes with Adam Reynolds, but it looks just to be an aggravation of an existing MCL
Yes.
strain.
He's gonna miss a couple
He's going to
games
miss
there.
at least next week, maybe a couple more, but there was a bit of concern for the ACL, but that's all intact, so that's good. Payne Haas also in doubt for next week, so that the win certainly cost them a little bit, but they looked quite good.
Yeah, Walsh had a
as
leg
well.
cork as well, but they've said he's good.
He's good,
So he will play. But yeah, they look good. They really showed. Well, I guess the Walsh versus Mitchell was the key kind of battle, like the showing of the talent, and Walsh won in this one. But I think for South, they're just not firing on cylinders. I think is the main thing, and already calls for Jack Whiten's got to play at 6, and you can move Walker to 7.
I've seen that. Yeah, I think Matty Johns was an exponent of that.
Yeah, they've got to do
harsh on Ilias given the way he played last year,
but they've already lost 2, and they're coming off, I guess, a long losing streak at the end of last year as well. That they need to do something to get right, get themselves right, and get back into the competition. So, yeah, whether that's they just throw Jack Whiten straight in there at 6 to maybe spark the side, or do they stay the course and put him in the centres and see what happens?
I think looking at their squad, I think Whiten comes in, probably a bloke like Richie Kenner misses out, Trell Mitt to stay with the 1, Walker 6, Ilias 7, see how that unfolds. I think it's be harsh on Ilias's career for Whiten to come in and him to miss out.
Can you give me next week's opponent for them, please?
It's Roosters.
Roosters,
So
another tough out.
Yeah, and big, fierce rivalry too. Trelly Mick got himself in a little bit of hot water for a bit of swearing, on Triple M.
I think he didn't help himself by saying things like, I don't care that I'm swearing as well. Bad visuals.
You want to come on a podcast and swear? Well, we've got one here for you if you want, Trelly Mitt. But it looks like he's not going to get any suspension or anything, but I think Abdo's going to have a meeting with him this week and just say, call your jets a little bit.
Yeah, you're meant to be one of the faces of the NRL, etc.
Role model.
Franchise man.
Role model chat gets thrown out there.
But rugby league's going to rugby league.
South, bit of pressure building, but it's only week 2. When do the South fans need to be worried? If they go 0-3?
If they lose the Roosters,
you say Roosters next week. It's a big one for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll go in as underdogs into that game too, I would imagine.
And that losing streak, kind of gets extended, and the coach is on the hot seat. For the amount of talent in that squad, they should be better.
See how they got round 4. Play the Bulldogs round 4. If they go 0-4,
If they lose the Dogs, then
that's when you can be worried.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got some early odds there already.
Yep, Roosters are favourites, $1.48.
Roosters are pretty good.
Rabbitoh's 16th at the moment.
Yeah. Speaking of the Dogs, they didn't look crash hot in their loss to the Sharkies. Sharkies go 2-0, 25-6 winners in this one. No Addo-Carr for the Dogs in this one. Just
he's going to miss a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's just looking at 3 to 4 weeks. He's got an AC, low grade AC, so they can probably rehab him a little bit, probably give him a jab and get him back out there in under a month's time. Nico Hines looked pretty bloody good in this one.
Reckon in time for round 3.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it's low grade.
Low grade.
Yep.
Nico Hines, Sharks, Flat Track Bullies, etc.
Can they win a finals game? See in fucking September, etc.
Yeah.
Panthers, they broke their... Eels actually had a little sort of hoodoo over them. Remember last year they beat them sort of towards the end of the year. I remember well because I won a good multi on them. But Panthers got the job done Friday night. Isaac Tungo, he looked unreal. Just a tick.
He's a centre for them?
Yeah, centre. Yeah.
So is he the one they've just re-signed to be the highest paid centre in the league?
Look at his contract.
I thought was interesting because they let Grutton go, but they obviously think very highly of him. And
he's fucking good.
He dominated in this one.
He's so good and he's so young as well. He'd be 22 maybe, Tungo.
What do you got there, Jimmy?
3-year deal.
3-year deal.
He's 21 at the moment.
Doesn't have a number.
Doesn't have numbers attached to
I
it.
think I saw
yet.
800 or not, between 800 and 900.
Jeez, a lot of money.
Okay.
A lot of money for a
Well,
centre.
yeah, I'm pretty sure the tagline was the highest paid centre in the league. So, but yeah.
750s.
Yeah, 750s.
Yeah.
So we signed to a new $3 million deal. There you go.
And that's hot off the press, essentially. That's last week. So,
Yep.
yeah, Tungo, big money. They think highly of him, and he's pretty fucking handy. Go through that. So I mentioned the just under 250 run meters, 9 tackle busts, 6 line breaks, try, assist, and he's 21.
Yeah. I can see why they like
Pays for
letting go.
himself.
Yeah, 100%. They had a bit of a scare with James Fisher-Harris, but scans come back today on his shoulder. No structural damage, just a bit sore. Should be right in the coming weeks, which is good. Don't want to lose him for the year. Raiders look pretty good at GIO, albeit against the Tigers.
They top of the table at the moment?
They'd be fucking close. Yep.
There you go.
First, after we were saying, they're probably stepped down from where they were last year. Lose Jack White and didn't have any big signings.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Zach Hosking might be he is the best signing of the first 2 rounds. So we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. Just spoke about him and how good he was in that win against the Knights, and he was
Backed it up.
fucking good yesterday. Yeah, 138 run meters, 35 tackles, 7 tackle busts, try assist. And
Did everything.
He's going to cause some good headaches for Sticky,
Yep.
because currently Elliot Whitehead and Corey Horsburgh aren't in the side.
Yep.
So they've got that Morgan Smithies that come in to play 13.
And he looks pretty
good
as
there.
well.
And Hudson Young, who played Origin last year.
Yeah, yes.
So
Got a lot of talent in the second row. So, yeah, I assume.
does Whitehead come back and come off the bench? Or are they going to, Hosking played 80 minutes. Is he going to go to the bench?
Yeah, Whitehead's not getting any younger, and he's not the quickest around the park, that's for sure, but he does a lot of work. But he was their captain, so
You can captain off the bench.
yeah.
No, literally you can.
Yeah.
If that's the way that
Well, I think
Sticky goes.
I think is it Tarpon?
Tarpon,
He's been
Tarp-
captain at the moment.
He captained today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, that's their front row too. We're talking about, does Horsburgh go into the front row? Well, then who misses out? Tarpanay's not going to miss out, and
Papali'i's still going around looking pretty good. So.
Pretty handy problem for Sticky to have.
They've got
incredible forward depth.
They've got a good forward pack, and I think that's really helping their young guys come through. So I think
Speaking of,
yeah, well, Strange, I think, is the big one, the big young fella.
Stranger Things, bro. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always the question is, they can attack. They'll come in and play first grade, but defensively, how are they going to go? Him for a 19-year-old, the way
He's got good size.
throwing his body around. He's had a try saver.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then the try he also scored. I was just
It was
like,
all physical.
Yeah, he's just like, that looks like Jack White out there. Like, a little left foot step, break a tackle, go over, score from short range out. That's Jack White's bread and butter. So. Yeah, I think he's definitely been playing pretty well in that squad, and I think Timoko has also been playing better. Like he's improving. So I think Seb Chris looked really well. I think Savage, he's kind of coming into his role in the wing, and I guess Rapana at the back there is with his 5 kilo loss supposedly in the off season, is looking trim, and I think he's the oldest guy in their team by far.
I think he's the oldest guy in the NRL.
There you go. And, playing fullback, big meters, big minutes. I think if they can keep that platform up, those guys will be able to face it a little bit. And Fogarty's just got to do the job of game managing, and he's been putting up some big bombs as well. Like, I'm way more surprised. I guess caveat in that the teams that have been playing so far, like Tigers, they should beat the Tigers, and the Knights really haven't hit any cylinders yet with Ponga. It hasn't been as good as he was to start of the year.
So saying just pump the brakes, Raiders fans, just a little bit.
Well, if we roll straight into talking about the Dragons, you know what happened there. So yeah, it's let's see when some of those tougher teams in the 8, when they come up against those guys, like can they keep this kind of momentum going?
Fake news, he's the 5th oldest in the NRL. So Jesse Bromwich, DCE, Jake Granville, and Jared Warrior Hargraves are older. JWH has the tag of the oldest bloke in the NRL at the moment.
Yeah. Final points on that. Sticky got his 250th win. But what did you think about the comments about Canberra Stadium and the stench?
It stinks. Stinks.
Yeah, needs a rebuild.
It's interesting because I wasn't there and I wasn't ripping farts. I was actually down here in Western Creek ripping farts.
Is it all those stinky pollies going out to the Rays game?
Yeah, I don't know. It's perennially on the Canberra chat is that, can we get a stadium? Can it be built in the city?
Yeah, the civic pool rebuild, I think, was
they spent all this money on a tram.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Ricky's
how old's
comments...
Bruce for me?
Oh, it'd be 30 years.
Be getting up there, I'd say.
Because they played
built
2000 Olympics?
Yeah, was it built for the Olympics?
It wasn't built for the Olympics.
It was already there. Yeah.
But it had because they put that extra stand in for the Olympics, didn't they?
Yeah, so
I think they expanded the capacity.
They definitely played at Seaford in the 80s. Would have played at Seaford early 90s.
Opened it 29th of October 1977.
Oh, geez, that's weird because they played. Google, when did the Raiders stop playing at Seaford Oval? Because they certainly played there. It
should be
80s.
in that article where they moved.
So it became the Raiders 1990.
Yeah, there you go. Home ground. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's obviously been around there for a while, and it sounds like the septic gave up on the weekend.
Stinks.
You get pumped.
I don't see it happening anytime soon. I wouldn't hold your breath, Raiders fans.
Not at all.
Too political at the moment.
I think, what do we need? A soccer team, maybe. I think if they get that green light, then they've got a reason to build the stadium. I think it's Civic Pool there.
Soccer players need somewhere to play first.
Stadium. Yeah, exactly.
Go build a nice 25,000 seat stadium to have 4,000 people rock up for the A-League. That'd be good.
But if it's indoors, it'll be nice.
That's right, but they all ride the tram too.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to wait for the tram to be fitty.
Yeah, plus if it's indoors, it's wild, bro. Pump the heaters. The opposite of Qatar. We'll put the heaters in.
We'll take the heat from Qatar. Sort that out, please. Yeah, this got very Canberra very quick.
That's derailed fast.
All right.
Stinks
Cowboys
out.
Knights in a tight one.
Cowboys go 2-0. Newcastle started pretty strong in this one. Adam Elliott looked pretty good. Bad news for Helium Lukey. Confirmed syndesmosis. So looking at probably 6 to 8 weeks out on the sideline. And it means they've got a bit of a gap in that edge-back rower area because... Leilua goes to the Dragons, and we actually said, I shouldn't hurt him too much because Lukey's so good and so young, and put the Esky curse on the poor bloke. But it's not like it's a season ender. He's just he'll miss the first third to a half of the season. But not good for the young fella. Hopefully his rehab goes all well. Chad Townsend, pretty good with a Golden Point winner. They had a quick set, just bang, bang, bang up the middle. Little ankle tap on Tommy Dearden, who made the break, and then that allowed them to set up their field goal. And Chad Townsend made light work of it. Game of the round. What do you reckon? That Storm Warriors game last night. Warriors looked a bit, have broken the Storm curse, and then the try. Should we call it the try of the year? It's round 2, but
to seal the game.
Might be the best try we've seen in recent memory. Xavier Coates launched into the fucking stratosphere to score.
Did he get the try of the year last year for something very similar?
Yeah, I think this year, I think it's going to be harder to beat.
Better.
It might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to...
I think this one's better because of the context of the game. It really mattered as well. To win the game, last minute of the game. It was essentially their last roll of dice, and to be 99% out of the field of play when he puts the ball down there, it's crazy.
So incredible. I was watching a bit of... Manly's got a preseason YouTube doco.
Yep.
And I was watching their wingers all it's literally shit that they practice. So they have mats, and one of the coaches will have a tackle bag, try and smack him, and
use every meter.
Got to try and get in the air and actually finish it. So pretty incredible try.
Over the last 30 seconds. I think.
This Dragons one actually won it last year. Yeah. It was speaking about context of the game. This was against the Roosters, and they're behind, and there was a last roll of the dice, and this was to beat the Roosters because they went all the way left, all the way right, and they won it. But I feel like Coates might have won one in the past.
So so it's try of the year. No, that's the whole try. So
It's completely different though. It's a team effort. That one from last year, whereas this was
this is just bananas.
individual
brilliance.
Exactly.
Of Xavier Coates last night. Storm have won 15 in a row. That means against the Wars. Got the Mickey over them for sure. And maybe the most promising thing for Storm fans and for fans of rugby league was Sam Pappy and how good he was.
Well, his 2 tries at the back end of that game as well. Well, he's one of them before Coates leading into that. Really gone back, into that game. We closed the gap from 12 points down and really get them close. So
164 run meters, 2 tries, 8 tackle busts. Pappy's back, baby. Pretty handy game today. Manly make it 2-0 for them. Running out 21-14 winners at 4 Pines there. Dom Young made his Roosters debut. Looked pretty fast on that length of the field effort. And the big talking point all week was the Spencer Leniu suspension.
Coming
I
out
think you covered it pretty well before the show. There's no way to keep everyone happy here because half the population would think it's too much and half the population would think it's not enough. So 8 weeks he cops for the racial slur used against Ezra Mann. I thought the precedent might have been set with the Montoya suspension a few years ago with the homophobic slur where they went 4 weeks. But we're certainly not going to dive too deep into it, but that's what happened. So Spencer's going to miss the first third of the season. Thought it was interesting that he sort of had extended the olive branch and said, I wanted to sit down with Ezra and offer a formal apology. Ezra knocked it back. A whole lot of hoopla throughout the week, which probably
there was a whole bunch of shit.
Brought out the worst in the comment sections, that's for sure. But that's what happened.
There was a lot said back and forth between the clubs and management as well, and none of it was great. Very typical rugby league sort of stuff. So, 8 weeks, he gets 8 weeks.
And again, talk about precedents. Like if it happens again, I suppose that's what the precedent is now.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's probably why they went so heavy-handed on it. It's like just
stamp it out,
kill it off now. Yeah.
Luke Keary, unfortunately, had a head knock in this one.
Was motionless on the ground afterwards, and they
6th documented concussion. Will certainly miss next week, and it'll be interesting to see what he does moving forward. Hopefully, it's no lingering symptoms for him, and makes it a full recovery. But you hate to see him.
Yeah, they're a much better team with both him and Walker in together.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, if it's just one of them, they kind of seem to struggle a little bit.
Start riding the Manly hype yet, or a bit too early?
Triple turbos, boy.
Triple turbo.
I think same thing. Like they're healthy, they're going to be good.
You know the difference is for them, I reckon. Olakau'atu, man, he's such a freak. And we spoke earlier about Hudson Young and how good he is, and I think the Blues are going to have a bit of a debacle in who they go in their back row because Liam Martin's no slouch, and Kaloa Matangi made his debut last year, so. Certainly will be pushing for a sky blue. Is it too early to talk about Origin? Yeah, probably.
It's only 2 months away, bro.
Yeah, we can start talking about it. And the Dragons lost 38-0 to the Dolphins, and time for AFL.
They got hammered.
Lucky, big swing from last week. I was relatively hopeful for at least a close performance, and credit to the Dolphins. They were way better up there at KO. Tonight, Hammer put on a clinic, hat-trick for him. He's so fast in the open field.
Talking about Origin as well.
I think he had 5 games in a row without scoring, which for him is incredible. So just saved it all up for when the Dragons came to town.
Yeah, I think Titans didn't play this week, so they're on the bye. But I guess it kind of showed where we... I think it was you that had the Titans real low. So the Titans,
which I thought was harsh until I've seen these first 2 rounds. I thought,
if we're doing rugby league math on who's versed who, then the Titans are probably right at the bottom at the moment. So they'll have to look to improve in round 3. But the Dragons got a hammering in this one, and who they take on next week?
Dragons have the Cowboys.
We looked at it. So Cowboys at home,
another tough
and
one.
then Manly at home. So luckily they play both those games at home before going to the Knights. So
still tough though.
Yeah, still it's a pretty tough little run. I think the Spoon Bowl I put in about a month's time there. The West Tigers game.
Well, Titans have got the Dogs next week, and then
speaking of going under the radar for the Spoon, Doggies. Haven't started crash hot.
Yeah, same with the Tigers. They've done absolutely nothing. They look all sorts at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Long season, though.
Yeah, it's round 2.
That's it.
Anything else to add from the first few weeks of
I
rugby
think
league?
that's all the major stories covered. I don't think there's anything else jumping out at the moment. Vegas, I guess, was pretty much a large success out of all that. They've been really happy with all the hype that's kind of generated out of it. So, and I think they've already said, they've re-upped and going to do a whole bunch more of that going forward for them. So, and I guess the talk about expansion's been ongoing and so on.
Yeah, I think I saw something courtesy of Clarkie's rugby league column about the South Island Kias will put in a bit of a bid as well for this next NRL licence. So we certainly had a lot of talk over the last 18 months to 2 years about PNG and their aspirations, but a South Island team,
New Zealand, Perth. They make sense.
Makes sense for sure. But I think it's
actually... put another team in Queensland.
Well, it's the first... I think it's the first, formal sort of...
recognition
of a bid and the team name and, stadium out of Christchurch and whatnot. But given the WAS pandemonium last year, you could certainly see it happening, and New Zealand beating Australia 30-0 last year at the international level. They've certainly got the talent there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of talent in the Polynesian areas. So, they that makes up a portion portion of the league at the moment. If they want to tap into that even more, then, putting a team in New Zealand makes a lot of sense.
Watch your space. Nothing's going to be formally decided there, and in the next year, so it's just something to add to the drawing board. But it looks like a formal bid will be made from South Island of New Zealand. All right, let's go south and talk about some Aussie rules footy. Interesting in how the AFL decided to structure the first 2 weeks. So they went with an opening round last week, which featured 0 games in Melbourne, and really buying into the Code War. Where
you can do it, we can do it too.
Well, rather than going, overseas, they said, well, why don't we just go into enemy territory and, where we're just trying to really continue to expand and played 2 games in Sydney, 2 games in Queensland.
Where do they play I know they played a game in America. Did they play a game in China as well?
They played one in China a few. They played several games in China.
Because that was it Port?
Yeah,
was it Koshi taking them over there?
Yeah, I think Port went. I think Gold Coast went.
Yeah,
I think there was a couple Chinese games.
Yeah, but again, you're looking for markets for growth. I guess it's an odd sport to in comparison to other sports to appeal to other areas. It's a very different type of sport.
Yeah, there's nothing like it except for Gaelic football.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
But anyways, that's the way that they went, and they sold out the SCG in there for the first game, and the Swans got up over the D's. Brodie Grundy looked really good in his new kit there.
I wonder if he's the key that's unlocked that team. They looked very good again this week.
Yeah. Having said that, he wasn't that big in their win against the Pies, but we'll get to that in just a second. The Lions and Blues. The Blues go up to the Gabba. Absolutely forgot to get off the bus. We're down about 40 points.
Yep.
I went up to see Theo Von up in Sydney. Went into the show and checked my phone. I thought, oh, fuck, I'm just going to watch the show. Yeah. Forget about it. Look at my phone. Carlton's won. How the hell did that happen? Win by a point. So they've done the opposite of last year, and they were pretty renowned for giving up leads last year, but that seems that they've got that extra bit of grit this year and can win the close games. I think that's their last 6 games now that they've won. They've all been decided by a goal or less. Yep. Yeah, so it's incredible stuff from the Blues. The lid's off. They've started 2-0.
Yeah, the Lions on the other hand, the opposite. They seem to be giving away big leads and
down
been really struggling against the Dockers from
30 odd now at the moment as we watch this fourth quarter over there at Optus.
Yeah.
Suns start 2-0 under Dimmer against his old club. Couldn't have written the storyline any better there. 39-point winners up at People First Stadium against the team that he had so much success with in the Tigers dynasty. And the Giants also starting 2-0, beating the Pies in that last game of opening round. But we'll run into this week where we've actually got some game notes. I did see every single nail-biting second of Thursday night's Blues game against the Tigers. Looks like Big Harry Mackay. He is...
he can kick it straight?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Bit off-season practice.
Yeah. Going a little bit better with his goal kicking. Seems to have the less of the yips. Paddy Cripps looks all right. He's taken young Jack Carroll under his wing. Both mid wet. Oh, I don't know what they call it over there. Essentially the Geraldton, Northampton region of the west coast of WA. So taking him under his wing, and it looks all right, young Jack Carroll. And they were down again, much like the Lions game, throughout 3 quarters and a few tense minutes as they got the lead and were able to hold on. So Baggers start 2-0 and Tigers start 0-2. Speaking of 0-2, Pies. Yeah. So premiership hangovers, are they a thing? It would seem like it is.
Seemed like it.
You ever think, like, coming off a premiership, like the teams that didn't make the 8 last year have had a full month of off compared to what you've had.
Correct.
So provided that you don't go too nuts with your partying, which,
with the history of the Pies.
or any footy team winning flag or premiership ever, you're essentially like you're 5 weeks behind everyone else. So I think, there can be a bit of that premiership hangover. We're just talking about Penrith in the league, and they lost round 1 last year. They lost round 1 the year before. They haven't given any fucks about the World Club Challenge, and sure we're chopping and changing between sports, but we're big fans of the NFL, and we see often the Super Bowl hangover being a real thing. Do you think that's a real problem in the AFL, and the Pies have sort of succumbed to it, or it's just round 2, who cares?
Well, mostly there's 2 things that usually play into it. It's like after you win the premiership, everyone wants what you've got. So whether it's coaching staff or your players, if you've got key guys coming off contract that are then in for big money, you can sign elsewhere. So everyone wants what you got. So yes, you lose a little bit of that, and then that takes resetting. But then I get the second part of that is probably the mentality. Like for it really takes a really good coaching staff to go, hey, we've just won it. You spent your whole entire career to this point to get to this point and to win a flag. You've now done that, but let's do it again. Yeah. And for some guys, it's like that's that's really hard. Like they've like, hey, I've hit the top of my career now, essentially, and do I need to put in that amount of effort again? And yes, they probably think they do, but then there's also that thing in the back of your mind where maybe you're not. And it's really hard, and it's very rare that some teams. I guess it usually takes like a generational talent that's the lead to I guess draw you to bring the best out of everyone else as well. It's like, hey, I want to win again, and they're like, cool, he wants to win. That means I want to win, and then they that mentality within the team, that culture is really what brings it out. But it's hard. Like some people just see it and they're like, cool, I've done it, and I want to go off in the sunset. Like I want to cash in on my expertise to this point.
And that's probably what separates the elite athletes from, say, a Dustin Martin. And then if you want to go levels above, like a Tom Brady or a Michael Jordan or that,
Mahomes is the key one.
In the head kind of exactly. Level of athlete. Yeah. Whereas it's just like
legacy is more important than Super Bowl wins. Like it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah. Whereas subconsciously it would be very easy for you as a professional athlete to say, on a subconscious level, Braden Maynard, premiership winner, can never take that away from Jeremy Howe, premiership winner.
That's always going to be.
That's always going to be next to my name. And now, how do I turn that into
a legacy sort of?
Well, it's round 2, and there's still 85,000, 90,000 people at the G, and every cell in their body is going to want to go out there and perform, but maybe it's not the same as, it's grand final day.
And coaching makes a huge part of it. Like, if we're using the NFL comparison, I think currently what we've got with Mahomes and Andy Reid, like those guys are there, that's what's going to lead you. Your comparison probably in AFL is probably back with Dustin Hardwick. Like, if those guys are there, they're like, hey, we want to win again. Well, that's what we're pushing for. And that's what draws out everyone else. If you don't have that kind of same sort of level of push, then things start to slip. Like you don't. inherently want to slip, but they do. Like it's
Subconscious,
human nature. It's
yeah.
human nature, unfortunately. And yeah, to be at that high pinnacle and maintain that for such a long period of time is very, very difficult.
I'm probably less concerned about the losses. Like you see what they're versing, GWS and the Swans, they're no slouch. Like you'd probably put them in the top 8 this season.
Yeah, the Swans look really good.
Probably what is concerning out of the losses is just the scoreline. Like they've let a fair few goals in, points through. So
Yeah, well, they're 18 against the Giants and 15 against the Swans. Premiership winners coming out and conceding 33 in their first 2 games.
Yeah. If they start the season like, what was it, Geelong started last year, then yeah, I'd be concerned. But at this point, again, early season.
Geelong able to steady the ship last year.
Yeah.
And they've got Collingwood's playing a primetime game this weekend. That's unusual. They'll play the Saints on Thursday night, so that's maybe going to be a big barometer. But they play Thursday night up against Brisbane up at the Gabba. So if the Saints are able to knock them off, you know, this is going back to like the South chat in the league. Like, you know, when do you start getting concerned? Is it 0-3? Is it 0-4? You know, so. Massive game there Thursday night against St Kilda, who'll be ready to rip and tear after a very close loss against Geelong.
Didn't the Blues have a bad start last year and then...
They had a draw to start off with. But yeah, remember about round
everyone's talking about
last year? There was
Sack
like,
and Voss.
I was like, oh, Voss's job's sort of on the line, yada, yada.
And then they came good, so...
They made a prelim and, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Didn't go far off making a GF.
Yeah.
So that's also the other side of it is the week to week hyperbole, I suppose, of the media and the
scrutiny of
scrutiny. Three blokes that have never played elite sports saying, "Oh, you know, is it a mentality thing?" Like, fuck, how would we know? You know? It's interesting to talk about, but that's certainly, you know, what the media will like to spin it, and they'll certainly be, you know, selling papers
100%
over it.
That's the big talking point in Melbourne.
Yeah, I suppose the question is, you know, when do you get
especially with Pies
concerned?
as well.
Yeah, of course, the biggest club like in Australia. So so they start 0-2. Of course, people are going to talk about it.
Yep.
But yeah, certainly a few massive Thursday night games for them upcoming. Bombers got off to a win yesterday, I should say. There at the MCG, there was 3 games at the MCG this weekend. Something along the lines of 250,000 people in there.
Jeez.
So yeah,
Rugby
footy's back,
league.
baby.
yeah.
Footy is back. Hey, poor KO Stadium, mate. It was sold out. It just doesn't quite fit.
Well, it's not in Sydney, is my point.
Well, yeah.
But Code Wars aside, Jake the Package Stringer, pretty good, 4 goals. Archie Perkins looks to be a pretty good young player, 24 disposals and 2 goals. But there was a bit of niggle in this one, Monks, and your Bombers. I saw James Sisley, he's copped a week for a little sort of off the ball, no play, a little bump on McGrath, I think he got. And Redmond got copped a week for striking Jai Newcomb. So certainly a few little spot fires there that needed putting out. But the Bombers run out winners there and get their 2024 season off on the right foot.
Yep, that's it.
Giants, as we spoke about, 2-0. Tom Green,
good.
he goes all right. Canberra boy, 37 disposals, 9 tackles, 5 marks and a goal. The Giants certainly looking like the Giants of about 4 or 5 years ago, where they made a GF, albeit very disappointing. So it's going to be interesting to see how their season pans out. They've got not a bye. They've got West Coast. It may as well be a bye. They've got West Coast next week and then a bye. So you know, they should be sitting pretty going into April. Cats opened the Cattery, the new look Cattery, 40 or just under 40,000 in there at GM.
I think that was their biggest crowd on Geelong as well.
Well, yeah, the first time the stadium.
Also, they've got a big stadium for the first time in a while.
Fit that many people. Yeah.
Pretty incredible. So 40,000 is the capacity now, and Geelong's about 250, call it 240. So 1 in 6 people in Geelong have to be in the stadium to sell it out. And they did it, no dramas. So interesting, and the AFL been looking at that as well, because Hobart's only about that size.
Will they or won't they build a stadium?
Yeah.
Too many art projects.
Yeah, 100%. Also, I don't know, I suppose the Cats have a bit of history behind them as well.
Yeah, true.
So, you know.
Won a few flags recently.
Yeah, a few flags.
It adds up.
Bit of an old club, I suppose.
Yeah.
Actually, on that, I did see in the news the other day, I think in Hobart, I can't remember if it was the mayor was going for re-election. He's election promise was to build the biggest chocolate fountain in the world.
Was it Willy Wonka? Who's going first?
That's it. So don't worry about an AFL team. Don't worry about a stadium. You're going to get your chocolate fountain.
There we go. Augustus Gloop is fucking moving to Hobart, and there's not going to be a footy team. Just a bunch of spoilt kids going to the chocolate factory. There you go. Good little bit of tidbit there.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to Tassie and Willy Wonka from the Cattery, the new look Cattery. Good game. Last few minutes of this were really good. Saints came real hard at the Catters, but mate, Patrick Dangerfield, cool as a cucumber, sealed
Captain's
it with about
knock.
30 seconds to go. Cats get away with one, and they've we spoke about how old they looked, and that was all the story. In years prior, but this New look team, without the likes of Isaac Smith and Joel Selwood, they got a lot of youngsters come through. Where are we up to? Suns, Crows. Jeez, pissing down last night up there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Suns got out to a big lead, but then reined them in essentially. You got back to within a goal to end there, but Suns get away with the win in this. Probably let a few go, kicking 12 behinds there, but hey, it was wet.
Weather played into it for sure.
Very slippery.
Tell you what, good little move for Tom Berry.
Yeah, so it looks pretty good. Steamer, resident AFL man, was saying it looked like he was playing a little bit more wing than small forward, so
Gets around it a bit more.
Gets around it, had a good goal.
Nana.
Nana, a little quick snap around the corner, and I think he finished with 17 disposals for the game.
Yeah, 9 in the first quarter. First
getting
quarter
involved. It's good to see. He's put on a little bit of size in the off season, and it looks like he's well respected over there now with some of the veteran boys, and he's getting involved in the club. So hopefully, he's got his starting spot now. Hopefully, he can lock it down for the foreseeable future.
What about the Falcon, that big Jared Witts cop?
It was a round of Falcons
in the league, because Jeremy Marshall King copped
got a
an
big one. Had to
one.
have an HIA after his.
Literally, wobbled after his Falcon, but big Jared Witts. He was at the back of the pack. Nothing like a big ruckman that just hangs out the back of the pack.
Went over the pack and
talking from experience.
Yeah, myself.
Yeah, copped it on the.
Well, he
on the
did well
chin.
enough to get his head to the ball. I just wanted to just not touch the ball at all. But it was one of the all-time Falcons, and he was a little bit unlucky that the blokes contesting it just went straight through and copped him on his noggin.
Should have given him a disposal for it at least.
And much like the Saints Cats game, they had to hold off a pretty defiant Crows team who were down big at three-quarter time, and they just kept coming in that fourth quarter. Noah Anderson looks really good. We've established that over the last few seasons. 35 and a goal for him. But keep an eye on young Sam Flanders. He goes all right too. Doesn't get along with Homer Simpson though. Stupid, sexy Flanders.
That's it.
A few games from today. I haven't seen any of these really, other than the one that we're watching right now. But the D's got the job done against the Bulldogs. Get their season back on track. Usual suspects for them. I was looking at the numbers, and Gorn, Petrarca, May, Oliver, heaps of it.
Oliver's a big story, being back in the side and being very involved. I think he had 35.
I think he had 35.
So I think they were really happy to see him back around the squad and playing really good big minutes for him too.
And one that's not normally amongst their usual suspects, because they've only just brought him in, Jack Billings. Looks like he's found himself a nice home here. He was always good at St Kilda, but pretty handy today. He had 23 disposals, 15 marks. Thanks for coming. Sausage roll, 140 fantasy points. Jack Billings looks like he'll be racking up a few numbers there as a Melbourne Demon. Powell got the job done against the Eagles, although at the Adelaide Oval, 50-point win, maybe unders from what they might have been expecting.
Did you see how many behinds they had?
No, what did they kick?
24.
So straight kicking was the issue. 16, 24.
16 and 24.
Yeah, so it could have been worse for the Weagles, but they'll take that 50-point loss.
10 and 10 for
Adelaide Oval.
Weagles, isn't it?
What do West need to do? Just stay the course.
Make it 2 years' time from now.
Yeah,
they're just so young. They
stay the course. And
see how Harley Reid develops, and hopefully no injuries. But they just don't have the list to go with teams. It's sort of like they're setting the expectations, like we were doing in our league. look at the season, and they're in the same category as a West Tigers, as a Dragons, as maybe as a Titans. If they don't get the spoon, that's a good season essentially.
Yep.
In fact, it's maybe more pronounced with the Eagles and the AFL and probably the lack of other teams around. They're sort of in a tier of their own.
Yep.
Whereas Lee, the sort of the bottom 3 or 4 teams are maybe in a bottom tier.
Yeah, Suns keep improving. Hawthorn's young and seems to be improving.
Yeah, the Hawthorn weren't bad by any stretch. Kangas weren't bad by any stretch. So
yeah, well, I guess they're kind of where the Roos were 3 or 4 seasons ago. Yeah. So
Yeah.
They'll have to see if they can weather the storm and pick up some young blokes and hope they turn into gold.
Yeah. But yeah, they without the scoreline being too flattering, with the 24 behinds, it's probably not the worst result for them.
Yep.
Who did good for power? Saw Butters and Rosie.
Yeah,
27 and 2 for Rosie, 27 and a goal for Butters.
Wines 23.
Big Charlie Dixon kicked 3. So
One Francis got 20.
Yeah, usual suspects. 3 for Petrocelli there. That's one to take home for the Weagles. So they'll look to see how they go. But it's going to be hard for them running into a pretty hot Giants team next week.
Long season.
How's this Dockers Lions game going here? Because I thought the Lions
10 minutes to go.
I thought they were going to get the job done, but
down.
yes, this is pretty much all she wrote.
I feel like the Lions lost last season when they went west as well, especially against Fremantle, and they also got hammered early in the season by the Bulldogs. I think last year as well. I think that's kind of how they started the season, and they're getting their systems in place, trying a few things out, get the guys ready, and losing games they probably should win. We'll see how this fares. It looks like Jared's playing in the back line, honestly, in this one, which is a bit of an interesting one for him. What do you got there? You got
I'm just chasing up.
Hipwood's got 3. Zorko got 1.
I'm just chasing up last year. They got hammered by Port round 1. So that's always a tough road trip. That Bulldogs game, they did lose, but didn't lose big.
Jeez, Sarong with 42 disposals.
Holy, so wrong, so right.
Well, they've got the top 4 there are all Dockers players in there, and then you get down to Dunkley with 24 and McLuggage with 23. So, yeah. What's Barry doing? Just because I care.
I'm still looking through 2023 season. Other than round 1, they didn't really suffer a big loss. Suns in round 20, they lost by 41.
So they beat, I'm assuming then
they beat Freo twice. So they beat them home and away.
Actually, was that game close? That was 3 points in that.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's not a huge fan of going west, I don't think.
Maybe what you're remembering there, but
that's always been their challenge, winning outside of Queensland.
Yeah, they only lost 6 games, and really the only 2 big margins were round 1 at Port and round 20 against the Gold Coast in that Q clash. The other 4 games they lost were reasonably close. So sort of looking at around that 35, 40 point margin, losing margin here. So gonna have to head back to Brizzy and hit the track and get up around Fags and work out the plan for
that's 0-2
the upcoming week. Yeah, 0-2. They get a bye though, so they get this weekend off, and then they have that Pies clash. So that both going to be desperate. So either Brisbane or Collingwood will be 0-3 in a couple of weeks' time, which is crazy to think of.
Yeah.
That's not actually true because
one of they could win. They could both win next week. But yes,
stupid opening rounds, throwing everything out of whack. The Pies will have an extra game,
just like the NRL bye weeks.
Anyways, it's something we're going to have to contend with now. All our weeks are going to be out of whack.
There's still
Big Joe Danaher just boots one,
but there's still 5 goals behind.
Anything else? What do we think of opening round and the split nature of it?
I think it was good. I think they AFL was also talking about expansion, as you will. I think we covered the Hobart team, but whether they add another team somewhere and where does that end up being? The leagues are both trying to grow and compete. So that's, I guess, one of the big storylines. But so far, I think the games have been good. Crowds have been good. 40 on both sides has been good. So so far it's been a good start to the season. Nothing really dumb has happened, which is good.
True.
You know the Super Rugby's been on?
What sport? That still exists?
The Brumby, I was having a look at the Brumbies crowd the other night for here.
Yeah.
Pretty ordinary.
Yeah.
Like,
Only members showed up by the sounds of that.
yeah.
Season ticket holders?
Because the Raiders are doing so good.
Yeah, Raiders crowd looked awesome.
Yeah, they had a
and-
good crowd.
And the Brumbies have
at the
been playing okay, but yeah, I don't know.
okay in Australia.
Yeah, we've spoken about it a lot on this pod, and
It's a dumb sport,
obviously,
unfortunately.
COVID probably hurt Super Rugby a lot, and then the fact that it's on Stan Sport, and,
TV deal.
and
It's-
the
Haven't
deal.
recovered.
I think they do have games on free to air.
They've got a few on free to air now.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
What station?
7 maybe.
Back to Prime?
Remember when I was up in Sydney
Maybe.
last? I was staying at my nonna's house. Shout out. Doesn't have any pay TV, obviously.
Yeah.
And we were watching the Reds game
Yes.
on free to air TV.
There you go.
Shout out there.
Well, they need it. I think essentially, the Wallabies struggle, so there's struggling for growth, especially in this country. New Zealand's dominated it. World Cup went a different way. It wasn't great, of course, for Australia. So, yeah, it's a long time to the next one.
Yeah, well, it's here, so
Yeah.
going to have to
Was that
change things. It was last year. It was back in last year, 2023. So
was here,
2027.
Yeah, I was like, the World Cup's happened here.
Yeah.
I've already forgotten about it. There was that non-event for me, unfortunately.
How are the Aussie teams going in the Super Rugby there, Monks?
That was a great question.
Just saw.
He's looking at Brumbies numbers.
You just had it. You got Brumbies trials now. That's all trials too.
You said I just had it.
I don't think.
Where-
You never had me, bro.
Well, Brumbies just won.
They beat the Highlanders.
against the Highlanders, so they're going okay.
so
So
right.
they,
in New Zealand. Yeah.
yeah.
So Hurricanes are on the top of the ladder. They've played 4 games. Hurricanes top, followed very closely by Reds, Chiefs, Blues, Brumbies.
So
It doesn't really give me wins. It just gives me points.
yeah. So outside of the Force, who are abysmal and are being
Dead last.
Yeah.
Crusaders
Yeah.
right down the bottom as well.
Yeah.
Fiji's there in 10.
Tars have started pretty ordinary. Rebels 2-2, but the Brumbies and Reds are actually going crash hot. So they're 3-1, both of them. So early stages in the Super Rugby, but you need to have some more advertising or something going.
Die hard at the moment.
That'll do us for footy.
Back to AFL. We didn't do a season preview or anything, but hot take. Who would be top 4 for the season?
Great question, Monks.
After 2 weeks.
I'll go with Carlton because I'm a Blues fan. I think pretty hard to go past some of the Sydney teams, like with the Giants and Swans looking the way that they're
both look really
going.
good.
And I'll sleep on the Suns just for now, even under Dimmer.
I think they need at least a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go D's in there. I'll go Carlton, Melbourne, Sydney, GWS. That's my top 4.
Yeah, right.
In no particular order.
Yep.
No Pies, no Lions.
Yeah, well.
What have you done recently for me?
Well, they've gone 0-2, haven't they?
Yeah. I feel like they'll right the ship and they'll probably end up in the top 4, those two. They're listed too talented to not do that. I do like your shout for the Sydney team, so it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain it long term. Suns, I think, probably will end up maybe fighting for a top 8 spot. Like they'll be on that cusp. That's kind of where I think they'll be. And I don't want to give you any satisfaction by talking about the Blues. So, maybe. I don't know.
Guess who our friends at Sportsbet have got
D's.
as the premiership
D's, maybe?
favourites as the round
Jeez.
concludes?
As the round includes Giants.
$5.
Yeah, well, they're the top of the table, so that's the
Big-
reason
big
why I say it.
sound Still.
$5.
Swans
Yeah,
650. Lions 8s. Carlton
Pies out to
8s.
yeah.
Pies 9. Melbourne 10. Port 12, and then it starts to get out a bit longer. So not much faith for the Suns, who, despite being 2-0 under Dimmer, are 34s. But then it starts to blow out a lot.
Yeah, well, like you said, I think the Sydney teams, it'd be really interesting to see if they can stay there. But I think, last year's finalists will come roaring back, I reckon, during the middle part of the season.
You got any
Fair call.
definitive top 4?
No, not really. I think you're right. At least one of those Sydney teams probably in there. I'd probably go Swans over GWS just based on, I guess, history. D's, I don't know, could probably see maybe Port sneaking in.
I've got a decent team as well.
Yeah.
For me,
Do I have to go Essendon as well? I don't know.
Not if you want to get the correct top 4.
I think the top 4 will probably change around, and it's going to be, I reckon, some mixture of Lions, Pies, D's, and
You need one City team, don't you?
Giants will be
Giants.
will be like the 4.
Yeah.
Watch this space. It's a long season.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a bit of cricket. Australia survives. We were up shit creek without a paddle in the 4th innings, that's for sure. Alex Carey and the Bison, Mitch Marsh, saving our ass after we were about 4 for 30 odd against the Black Caps there in the second test. Firstly, what are your thoughts on Pat Cummins hitting the winning runs? Do you have to go team first and just get it done, or should he have just let that ball go
Block
out?
a few balls and then let
Well,
Alex
the
Carey
last
get his
few-
100, I think.
the last few he didn't actually have to play at because they were outside. They weren't hitting the stump, so he could have left them, and Carey could have tried to get his 100.
Well, I think we've talked about this in the past for this team. They're very much win focused. So instead of individual goals, yes, it would have been great for Alex Carey to get a ton in this one, and he'd done a lot of the work essentially to be able to do it. And yeah, he could have, with the final 2 runs, have hit them and got his ton, but I think they were just more keen on getting the win. And yes, I guess they had 1 wicket left. Hazelwood still come out.
2. So if Cummins or Carey was to get out, then we still had 2 left because they're only 7 for. Yeah.
So yeah.
So everything would have had to go wrong, essentially.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And, that's a risky take. And usually when one goes, another one follows very quickly.
Well, yeah, we saw Starkey got golden cracker, and you can imagine the Australian print media in the post-sandpaper world what they would have done if Carey was to get out and then you expose your tail and, Captain Planet would have been on the front page for being a weak leader, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So, to keep their winning streak against New Zealand alive and getting the win, I think for them is just more important. So
98 Reading, great knock. Alex Carey
keeps his average up, etc.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of averages, you've seen Pat Cummins' 4th innings average,
it's pretty good.
35 or something.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Right.
Captain's knock.
Yeah.
He's done a few of those to keep him in the game.
How many of these close test matches has he either hit the winning runs or been a big part of the final?
Well, if you look at the top order, it's probably the reason why he's had to bat a bit and get some extra runs at the end.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Because they struggled a bit in this. I think it was a hardball test. The team with the hardball ran through the other side. And I think it was the same for the Australians getting the Kiwis out because they had that middle period where they were getting good runs. They hit 372, and then the hard ball came out and they ran right through them.
Yeah, set the second new ball.
So yeah, it's kind of really showed what sort of pitch it was, and it was definitely for the hard ball. And unfortunately for the guys at the top end, they got nothing. Steve Smith has run a form. Unfortunately, as an opener, hasn't been great. He gets 11 in this one.
Lucky he carried his bat in that game against Windies, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hasn't been heaps outside of that.
Yeah. And same like Marnus didn't get anything in this innings, but he at least, I guess, got his proverbial monkey off the back and got the 90 in the first innings. Really did the job for us in that one because they ran through that side as well as that innings because, outside of him, no one else got over 30. No one in the whole team got over 30. So he did the majority of the scoring in the first innings for the Australians too. So, seeing off the hard ball, that's the challenge.
Keep that very tasty record intact against New Zealand. The last time they beat us was actually here, but at Hobart, so probably the one place that most replicates their conditions.
Yep.
Back in 2011, 2012. So you got to go a fair ways. And the last time we lost to them in New Zealand, it was the 90s, I think. Like it's been a long time.
Yeah, right.
So pretty different looking teams in those days. Mind you, that team that lost in Hobart, pretty fucking handy. Names like Ponting, Clark, Hussey. in there. Yeah. Phil Hughes, rest in peace. So really the only players from that team that were in this team, Usman Khawaja, Mitch Stark, Nathan Lyon. So it's been a while since we've lost to New Zealand.
Yep. Soon after the debutants, I think.
Yeah.
They were
Must have been looking at the makeup of that squad, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been the very back end of, Ponting, Clark, Hussey, and the very start of Khawaja, Lyon, Stark, Warner.
Yeah.
So have they been playing any other cricket over there? Was there...
They had the 3 white ball games beforehand, and
so the test
now
was the back end of it.
anyone that has got an IPL contract will be going over there. Jake Fraser McGurk just got one with Delhi, who under Ricky Ponting have got a very Australian feel about him. So we'll be getting it behind the Delhi Caps
again.
Might have to give their media team a call. Seem to have forgotten about us. And I think Shield final must be next week or something.
Yes, because we had. Can you see if you can get a result on that, Jimmy? Because they played during the week, and I did see some of this. I can't remember the winners though.
It's normally late March, 21st of March, which is this Thursday. WA against Tasmania for Shield final. Matt Wade to retire post Shield final, and there's a.
But is that international cricket or retire complete?
I think. Well, I imagine it's everything. Probably plays T20, maybe still playing. Do you want me to click on it?
Click it.
Yeah, Matty Wade. What's he doing?
First class retirement ahead. So
he won't play Test cricket anyway. Not playing any red ball cricket, and he's 36. So I imagine he'll do a few more years of T20. It seems to be the career trajectory.
Yep.
I'd like to thank the family, kids, sacrifices. Yeah, as I travelled Australia and the world as a red ball cricketer.
Yeah.
So,
and although I will continue
to play white ball cricket.
Yeah.
There we go.
One of my favourite highlights for him was when he bowled.
Yeah.
not
actually that shabby. Get a few little right arm meds, you know, can get the ball to hoop a little bit, Matty Wade.
I saw some vision of that during the week, and he had Philip Hughes as his keeper replacement. So, yeah.
So that Shield final kicks off Thursday, and WA have looked pretty good this season, and there's going to be a guy called Cam Bancroft who'll be horny to score more runs, I'd imagine, because that conversation around Smudge opening and what the future top 6 looks like, that will rage into our summer when India come over.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of wobble, I guess, at the top there, and he could be putting his hand up, that's for sure. But like we said, then you got to rejig. Everything helps. And then what do you do to Cam Green and Bison, who've both been playing really well, and Marnus has come back into it, so you can't boot him out of the side any longer. So it's unfortunate for Bancroft, but I don't see a way in currently.
For me, I think it's when Khawaja retires. Personally,
I did see the women's IPL's been going on.
Yeah, the Aussies been going nuts in that too. I think Elise Perry went wild the other night. Elise Perry, IPL. What'd she do?
Can you grab a table, Jimmy?
That's right. She hit a ball out of the stands and broke someone's window.
Yeah.
And they framed it.
Yeah, they took it in front and she signed it. So
sick.
There you go.
The final was actually overnight.
Oh, there you go.
I'm glad we looked this up. Yeah. So Elise Perry and RCB win the maiden Women's Premier League final. So who else playing for RCB that's Aussie?
So they beat the Delhi Caps.
Boo. Elise Perry, amongst others. It's good. It's good that they...
did they win the Eliminator?
Oh, is the final upcoming?
The final's tonight.
There you go. Finals tonight.
My bad.
So who's playing tonight?
Delhi Caps,
Delhi Caps.
RCB.
RCB.
They beat Mumbai Indians to get into the final.
If you click on that, is there a team list?
Sure, I won't have it just yet because it starts at 1 a.m. So they literally only have them like half an hour before.
Is there any names of Valley there?
Oh, yeah, we've got the squads. So going through, Sophie Molyneux is on RCB. Annabelle Sutherland is
Yeah,
playing
she's
for Caps.
Smashing it for the Australians.
Meg Lanning, Caps.
Some very strong Aussie flavour.
Yeah. So it'll feature at least 4, maybe 5 Aussies. I'm also not staying up till 1 a.m, but I'll catch the highlights in the morning.
The results of that one.
For sure.
So now the cricket happening, no test matches until we're in IPL season and then into World Cup.
Into the T20 World Cup. We then go to England for 5 ODIs in September before coming back to get ready for our summer. But there's no red ball cricket now for a long time.
Sad face.
Talk some more cricket when the IPL rolls around, and good luck to particularly the Aussies and the Delhi Caps women and RCB women tonight in the WPL final.
Yep.
Let's talk some NBA.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up, bang!
Bit of a quicker one tonight in the NBA because we've got a bunch of NFL to get through. Celtics top of the East, 52-14. They've clinched first, so they'll get the 1 seed now and probably see a bit of load management, I'd start to imagine, for their big stars. So leaps and bounds ahead of any other team at the moment in both the East and the West. Then it's interesting in the East. So Bucks, Cavs, Knicks, all sort of around that 40 to 43 win mark. Knicks had a bit of a scare with Jalen Brunson, hurt his knee against Cavs, didn't look great, but his scans come back clear. So he should actually be back in the coming days. He's already missed 10 days, something like that. So shouldn't be far off. Magic have looked really good since the All-Star break.
Well, I'd say Magic, Pacers, 76ers are kind of that next group.
Next year.
Just under 40 wins.
Yep. So we've had Tier 1, Celtics by themselves. Tier 2, Bucks, Cavs, Knicks, who will all be pushing for home playoffs in the first series. Tier 3, Magic, Pacers, 76ers, throw the Heat in there too.
So throw the Heat in there.
So Magic have really turned things around since the All-Star break. They're 9-2. Banchero's just been really consistent. I don't think he's had a 30-point game, but it's like every night's just like 22, 26, 29, consistent. 24. Yeah. So he's not really dropping under 20 very often. And those Wagner boys are pretty good. They actually they've been to the playoffs since 2010, but the last time they won a playoff series was Dwight Howard Magic in 2010. Jeez. So fucking a while since they've won a playoff series. Now look, they finished 5th. Don't necessarily get a playoff series win, but if they are able to maybe jump into that top 4, get the extra home game, who knows? So they're only a game behind the Knicks at the moment, and 3 games behind the Cavs. So if they continue on the trajectory that they're going, could certainly be looking at a home playoff, or getting the extra home game at least. Pacers 76ers in 7th. 76ers looking pretty lost without Joel Embiid. They've also missed Tyrese Maxey for a few games. I think he should be back this week. They're 5-8 since the All-Star break, so not horrendous, but also not the team that they were with Joel. Medical team said he's looking pretty good post his meniscal surgery. NBA famously tight-lipped with anything medical and how it's all going. But Nick Nurse did say that he's still pretty confident that he'll be back before playoffs. They've been pretty adamant that they want to get him in and get a 3 or 4 games stint into him before the playoffs start.
Yeah, so outside of games timing, how long is that till playoffs?
A month, I think.
Yep.
Playoffs.
Weeks. Playing tournaments 16th to 19th of April. Playoffs start on the 20th.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quick maths. So, if they want him back then, there needs to be 3 weeks until he's back, which seems like a relatively quick turnaround post-meniscal surgery. But meniscus is hard as well because how bad was his tear? Was it a big bucket handle? Was it a flap tear?
How much work did they have to do?
How much bone bruising was there? What's the inflammation been like? 7-footers notoriously slow to rehab as well compared to smaller, more agile guys. So a lot of that probably plays into it.
He's got 2 feet of bloody meniscus.
Yeah, that's right. They looked at his meniscus and it's an actual bucket. Physio kind of chat there.
So if we go down that list, do you think because what is 10's the play-in? So
yeah, so it's
do you think-
Bulls, Hawks currently, and
you
then
think
Nets are
that-
3 games behind the
yeah,
Hawks.
do you think they're safe? Like, do you think the Nets are just too far away?
I think it's 11 teams now because the Raptors are on a 6-game losing streak,
Yeah.
and they're 3 games of them behind the Nets.
Nets,
So I think they're done.
They're done.
I think
So-
Toronto, and they've played their hand, trading away Pascal earlier in the
Yeah.
year. Spicy P leaves the building. They've got no one left essentially from that championship winning team, and they're going full rebuild in the coming seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Raptors, Hornets, Pistons, Wizards. Done. Pistons, given the start they've had, not too bad to get to double-digit wins.
We're not lost. We're not lost.
And obviously with the lottery, it keeps those last few games reasonably interesting. You don't get a full-on tankathon, but the Pistons and the Wizards.
G League games out there.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be finishing 14th and 15th. Just don't know the order just yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it's 11. It's 11 teams that are in the hopes to be playing playoff.
Yeah, and I even think the Nets might just be too far away,
Yeah.
especially with their squad as well.
And see, Ben Simmons had back surgery.
Yeah, and his season's done. I think.
Done. So last 3 years barely played much at all.
Yeah.
You feel for him now with like a nerve compression in your back. Pretty horrible thing to be enduring. So cops a lot, obviously. Being a professional athlete and not playing as much as people would like, but that comes to light, and you're like, okay, well, it's pretty.
Well, surgery could be the
pretty serious injury.
Yeah, it could be the best thing for him as well.
It could be.
He's been struggling with this for 2+ seasons, like essentially since he joined the Nets, so 3 seasons.
100%.
So yeah, maybe it's finally the thing that he needed.
But it's also a radical intervention.
Yeah,
So it's like 75% of people that have this surgery in the NBA get back to playing. And then there's a quarter that's their career.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that, Ben makes a full recovery, takes his time and is able to start phase 2 of his career after a pretty major, significant kind of operation. Anything that's releasing nerves in your back is massive. So hoping he makes a full recovery, not just for the Nets, but for Aussie basketball fans that haven't seen him play for fucking years.
That's it.
Speaking of Aussie basketball fans, Paddy Mills signed with the Heat during the week,
Yeah.
so he might get a playoff run out of him.
Exactly, and I think he's had a few minutes. Can you bring up Paddy Mills' game log? Because essentially he wasn't really getting a run with the Hawks at all.
Yeah.
Gets released from the Hawks. Heat pick him up, who have got more chance of playing playoff basketball, and I think he's played a few minutes. So
I don't think the Heat will miss from that kind of spot.
well, they won't miss the play in.
Yeah,
But then
missed the play in. Yes.
only one game. It's only one and could be one and done if they finish 9th or 10th. So be rooting for him there. Yeah, he's played averaging 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah.
Since
It's
he's
good
been out
time.
there. What's his best game been in points terms? 13?
Points. 13.
13 at OKC there. So yeah, it's fun for Aussie basketball fans seeing Butler Pat going around again. Might have to look into a Mills Heat jersey.
Yeah. We should just start collecting them all.
Yeah, well, how many teams has Mills played for now?
Few now. Hawks, Spurs,
Happens at the back end of your season.
Nets.
Hang on, I've got it here.
Make me do this.
Portland.
off the top of my head.
Started Portland.
So all those years in Portland.
Yep.
Then
How's that saying Toronto?
no, that's I don't know what that is. TOT. Was he on there? He might have been on their roster for a little bit.
Maybe he was traded.
I think
there.
it's 6. So Blazers to start off with, then obviously the lengthy tenure at the Spurs,
Yeah.
then into the Nets, then into Atlanta, then Miami. Is that total at the top? Is that his total career stats
Total for...
or total for the year?
Because it got 23, maybe for the year.
Yeah, I think it's his 5th team.
Yeah.
Anyways, we could go splurge on another jersey. Not like interest rates are higher.
cost of living, etc. West.
Thunder, Nuggets, Wolves. That's
it.
tier 1. So they're hovering around that 46-47 game mark. Nugs won 5 in a row. I think the bookies still probably agree that they're the team to beat, the defending champs.
So I did see this. So I think the Joker's got not a lot of competition for MVP.
Yeah, well, since the Joel stuff.
But is it SGA?
Yeah, SGA has been a smoky all year. Let me get you some updated numbers.
Considering they're now essentially competing for number 1 spot as well.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll get this market up.
So outside of that, well, then we run into what we're saying, Clippers, Pels. Actually, I think Pels are a really good sort of surprise packet. I think big thing there for Zion looks really good, as we've been saying all year. A few talk show media in America like to talk about how many burgers he eats, but he also gets buckets. So he's been playing really, really well for them. And then that flows into Suns, Kings, and Mavs, all there at around 39 and 38 wins for them.
SJ 450 will get you the odds at Sportsbet. So Joker $1.28, still relatively sure thing. But yeah, if he picks up a little niggle and misses a few games, SJ could be fun to jump on there. Luka at 9s, Giannis at 17s, and then it really blows out.
Yeah. Even still, that's still a long way out. So yeah. Be interesting if win the 1 seed. Can you also win you an MVP? I'd be interested to see if anyone can chase Joker down, because essentially as soon as Embiid went down, it was like it's his. It's his. The MVP's his. But so if someone can catch him, would be quite interesting. The last teams I didn't cover were probably the 2 big ones. Golden State Warriors and the Lakers, sitting there at 9 and 10. They do have how's that work? A 3 and a 4 game lead.
3.5,
Yeah, over the Rockets currently, and I guess Spurs, Blazers, Grizz, and I guess Jazz can still make it.
Yep.
I guess they're
Jazz can, and then that's where the line is.
It's still pretty difficult though. They're 6 games behind the teams in 10.
They're mathematically, but they may as well be done.
Yeah, so again, it's probably 11 teams here with the Rockets going to challenge. Can they challenge the Lakers and Golden State?
Warriors played Lakers today. Weird game. LeBron puts up 40.
Yeah.
Last 2 minutes to go, the shot clock dies.
Oh yeah, and they had like
They had the 15. announcer. The announcer was calling it like over the loudspeaker.
Wow.
So
30, 29.
Counting it down.
So you get the So the game clock was running, I think, but the shot clock wasn't running. So
yeah. I did see some, because I think they stopped the game for
ages.
There was like for 30 seconds on the clock, it was like 15 minutes of actual time had passed, and like they had showed all the video of the celebs. I think they had J-Lo and Ben Affleck in the front row,
Kim K,
and they're sitting there just like bored out of their mind. I was like, get back to the basketball. But interesting that the shot clock died and they didn't have any backups or replacements. So.
Bro, I'm not scared of AI fucking killing all of us just yet. We got another 5-10 years. Can't even get the clocks fixed.
No.
Weird scenes.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, big break in play, and the Warriors end up holding the fort with the announcer counting down. Scenes there. Rockets did suffer a big loss 4 or 5 days ago with Alperen Şengün. Likely done for the season. Again, medical things, NBA, always hard to ascertain. Looked nasty, came down on the outside of his ankle, concern for lateral ankle and lateral knee. I imagine we would have heard if he'd done his ACL, so that's probably all intact. But this is going to be an interesting one around that 65 game rule as well, because he was likely to get the most improved player in the NBA for the year, and now similar to Embiid will probably go under the 65 games, so may not get that. But been a good year for Şengün, so hopefully not too hurt. And the Rockets, despite starting so well, have sort of slipped, and I think it's going to be hard for them now. And like we're saying, like mathematically, there's 12. Realistically, there's 11. I think realistically, I think it's the play-in set. In the West.
Agree.
And it'll be Lakers, Warriors, and then some sort of iteration of Suns, Kings, Mavs in the playoffs, in the play-in, and by virtue of that, the playoff. But month to go till playoff basketball. Going to be interesting to see what happens. The Celtics head and shoulders above everyone in the East, and sort of a 3-way tie for dominance of the West with the Thunder, Nugs, and T-Wolves.
Yep.
Go out and get yourself a Paddy Mills Heat jersey if you're into that kind of shit. All right, we've got a lot to get through. Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, he broke his ankles.
Who would have thought that there was this much chaos within a few days of NFL free agency? We were certainly expecting some moves. I probably didn't expect this much.
I
Yeah, I think
completely
it's
forgot
huge
that it
moves.
was happening this week, and my phone was just blowing up on Monday morning. I was like, "What's going on?"
100%, because it was all happening so rapidly as well. Like you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like Cousins going to Atlanta, and then, oh my God, like Russell Wilson's going to Pittsburgh. Like it was just all happening, and then
Yeah,
And then the running backs just going jumping
it was
around.
the
and,
running backs. Yeah,
and like teams signing a running back and then releasing their other one, and then him signing straight away with another team. Like, yeah, it was definitely one of the more crazy cycles, especially at the the big name top end of the free agents. But still more to happen. There's still more guys floating around that could definitely play on a team.
yeah.
So the way I've done these notes, I've split it up.
QBs,
QBs,
RBs,
RBs, wide receiver, defense, into a bit of Aaron Donald and draft chat.
Yep.
So we'll get to that in a second, but let's start with the quarterbacks. And
Coco Chains.
Oh yeah! For those listening, I'm doing the Kirk
Big
Cousins
Coco
dance,
dance, yeah.
with the chains on and the shirt off. I've got my shirt on and also chainless.
Please
But
do.
Kirk's going to Atlanta, 4 years, 180 million, 100 million of that guaranteed.
Quick math average.
45?
180,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty typical for QBs at this time of the year.
I trust you.
Are you an accountant, dude?
It's no spreadsheet, bro.
Excel.
We've been through this.
It's like, I've never accounted for someone with $180 million.
But I think that number, average, like yearly average, is about par for where quarterbacks are at the moment. I think that sounds about right for what Rodgers
Well, the
was
top
on,
end,
so,
that's sort of in the Rodgers Mahomes echelon.
Yep.
So for a guy that's won one playoff game, I love Kirk Cousins. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'll echo.
But you got to go.
Well, Cam
Newton.
Newton said, like, damn, who's your agent? Like, his agent's done him a solid here, but they're hard to find in this league. You know, consistent, build a franchise around it, kind of quarterback.
And if you look at statistically, last year he was one of the best quarterbacks before he got hurt. It is a team sport, so winning playoff games is also very difficult. We've talked about this last podcast about how hard it is to win a bloody Super Bowl. So, I don't put his playoff losses completely on him, considering I know this Minnesota Vikings team has barely any defense. I think he's been probably doing overs with this team for quite a while, and it does help that he's throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson for most of last season. I think it's a pretty good deal for him. I think he's one of the few that are really pushed for that high guarantee he did in his last contract for going over to Minnesota. He's made bulk cash in his time, and I think it's just you've seen it on the quarterback, like how marketable he is as a star. Like he'll be the franchise of that. They can sell that, can really sell well for Atlanta. Plus, they have all the skill positions essentially in place, ready to go. What they needed was a QB to go in there, and then they flipped Desmond Ritter's ended up. Where's Desmond ended up?
Cards.
Been traded the Cards to back up Kyler Murray there, and then they've signed
Rondale Moore.
No, Heineke as the other backup as well, come across from the Colts. So they've really turned over their because Mariota's gone to the Commanders, I believe. So they've turned over their backfield completely. A lot of teams actually have done that this season. Moved quarterbacks. The quarterback's looking for opportunities elsewhere. But I think this is huge for Atlanta. You look at the NFC South, I think they'll win that handily compared to the talent of the other teams.
Can't say the Panthers doing crash hot.
No.
So it's going to be the Bucks who
keep Baker.
Yeah, Baker got paid. So happy for Baker in that sense. Often gets trash talked
but they haven't made huge moves outside of that.
So I can't see them getting much better.
Guys,
and the Saints were a little underwhelming, I thought, from what their roster looked like.
Still struggling with cap. Likely that Mike Thomas gets cut not too distant future as well.
That's wild to think.
Crazy to think of the season that he had 4 years ago.
And injuries, etc. And who's the other team in the South?
Panthers, who we just
Panthers, Vikings,
Bucks.
That's
it. Falcons. Getting your wires crossed. He didn't. So just Kirk Cousins is going. He didn't bring the whole team. Franchise.
That's the
whole franchise.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting my wires crossed.
So warm here. It's nice.
That's probably one thing.
So the whole city of Minnesota is just
going back to your previous point, I think with Kirk Cousins at the helm and a relatively weak division, it's a 3-horse race as it is, because the Panthers aren't going to be doing jack shit in the next season. Good chance that the Falcons can win the South this year. Sorry, Max. I'm sure your Bucks will have something to say about it.
Yeah,
they will. Just looking at his recent form, so he's like a fine wine, old Kirko Cousins. Yep. His last 5 seasons, these have been his QB ratings: 107, 105, 103, a measly 92, and before he got hurt last year, 103.8. So
he was 18 touchdowns and 5 intercepts on 8 games.
And look at his ratio. Pretty much, if you look at his career as a tale of two cities, Washington and Minnesota, his Minnesota numbers are, warrant getting a contract like this.
Yeah.
Essentially,
He's
been an elite level quarterback. Yes, hasn't had the playoff wins, hasn't had the the team success.
Well, yeah. Having said that, he's been on one playoff team, so
so
he's been on shit.
And he's going to have that that moniker, I suppose, going forward of primetime Kirk and can't play in big games and all the rest of it. But like you said, in watching quarterback, super likable, super marketable. Build your franchise around him, and congrats to the bloke for getting the big payday.
Yeah,
Cam just sour.
Yeah, new coach over there. That's exactly what they want, and I think his number is the same number as Kyle Pitts, and they had a bit of a funny.
They're both 8.
They're both 8, and about do I need to pay you a whole bunch of money to get this number? And he said, nah, just make sure I get targets.
Throw the ball.
Yeah, make sure I get targets and we're good. Which sounds exactly what he has been lacking. So, yeah, maybe Kyle Pitts in for T1 this year if Kirko's numbers are anything to go by.
Dude, that offense is fun. You got Bijan, who's skill-wise going to be one of the best running backs in the league. Kyle Pitts, who's the highest drafted tight end ever and has been, shamefully underutilized over his past few seasons. If they can, make a couple of additions on the offensive line and have a relatively stingy defense, that's a pretty good team, right?
Yeah, and they've also added Mooney and Moore as well.
Yeah, so their wide receiver room got a lot stronger too. So Drake London will have a bit of help there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, everything's looking up for the Falcons, I think.
Yeah, agree.
Big changes for Pittsburgh. So
whole new QB room for them as well.
Yeah, so Russell Wilson comes over on a measly $1.2 million
for him.
Deal, vet minimum. However, Broncos still owe him about $39 million.
All the dead cap, etc. So.
Your thoughts, Broncos fan? Obviously, this year was slightly better than the previous year, but as it's going to go down, probably not one of the better trades in NFL history.
Yes.
What did you make of it, and do you think it was time for the divorce?
Yeah, I think so. It kind of last year showed it's still, even though the numbers were good, the limitations on Wilson as a quarterback, especially in the system that Sean Payton wanted to run. But I think it's bad for Wilson. He was brought over to run Nathaniel Hackett's offense, which essentially is make Russell Wilson Aaron Rodgers. Never was going to work. So that's why that year kind of really went really badly. Last year, Sean Payton kind of changed it. But, again, it's just I'm really looking for a Drew Brees type of quarterback. And it's that's, again, not really what Russell Wilson really does. So what he really excels at is, off script, playing gritty defense gritty offense backed by a strong defense and a strong run game. And to Pittsburgh, perfect fit for him. So I think that that really works for him. He wants to win Super Bowls again. He's only got a 1-year deal. It's essentially a rental for the Steelers. They got to pay him fuck all. The Broncos are on the ticket for the rest of it, and he can try to resurrect his career there. Doesn't help that they moved Johnson and Robinson and basically got Pickens left. I don't think they've signed any other wide receivers at the moment. Good for Pickens, but I think run the ball, throw deep passes to Pickens on play action, I think's the game plan going forward. And I think then the following one, they trade for Justin Fields for a 6th rounder, which will become a 4th depending on playing time.
I suppose before that, I suppose with Russell Wilson coming in, there was chat that the social media around him calling up Kenny Pickett's like, hey, let's be the best version of ourselves for the team. Kenny Pickett's obviously not happy being the starter.
Yeah,
then gets moved on as well.
Yeah, well,
asked for a trade.
So I think Kenny Pickett was told he would compete to be the starter, with you've suffered the Matt Canada offense for the last 2 years. We've gotten rid of him. It's a fresh start for you. You compete as a starter. You're likely to be the starter. And then they've brought Wilson in and said, now it's like it's a one-on-one competition. And it's like, well, this is not kind of what we agreed and what you told me. I'm a fresh start essentially. And then they flicked him to the Eagles, which will be interesting because there's some chat about, Jalen was struggling in the back end of last year. Do they look elsewhere? Is he just a running quarterback? Do they look elsewhere? But hey, I doubt we'll see much of Kenny Pickett over there, the Eagles.
Yeah,
but you never
Jalen Hurts was a MVP caliber kind of player a season ago. So
That's, again, what have you done recently for me? So
short-term memory loss in this league. People saying that Kenny Pickett's a better player than
Well,
Jalen
the
Hurts.
Eagles have done a lot elsewhere to add a lot of talent to that team. Mainly Saquon Barkley. We'll talk about that in a minute.
What'd you call him?
Sequence of Barkley over there. Sequence.
A sequence of unfortunate Barclays.
But like I've just mentioned, Van Jefferson was as the only kind of really ad for receiver for them. So not a huge ad for Steelers. But then they, as we're saying, traded for Justin Fields, basically a younger version of Russell Wilson. Kind of shows the offense they want to try and run. Give Wilson the first shot at it, and if he loses a step, then Justin Fields, I think, will be straight in there to take over that role, and they'll see if they can resurrect him. And I think that kind of really fits well for what they're planning to do this year.
And for the first time, we know what's happening with that number one pick definitively, because that's been all the chat. Would Fields stay or would he go? And he goes, and you'd imagine Caleb Williams is essentially a bear.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% they're going to quarterback. Looks like Caleb Williams, but bears do bear things. And if they take Daniels, I would not be surprised.
We'll see how it all plays out in about a month's time.
Yeah. That'll be a very interesting draft. Potentially 4 quarterbacks to go in the first round. In the first, first 10
picks.
First 6 picks, really. So that'll be pretty interesting. Because there's been a few trades. Again, back to Minnesota now looking for a quarterback. They've got some ammunition to move up from 11. So some final moves. Joe Flacco went to the Colts. I guess back up there of Richardson. So hopefully Richardson can stay healthy, but he got injured last year and he took over.
Wouldn't be surprised if Flacco's QB1 in week 1 next year, and they make use of, obviously can still
week 1.
Can still sling the rock, and then Richardson's got time to learn and develop. Having said that, I've got Richardson in some fantasy leagues, so maybe. Sam Howell goes to Seattle.
Because Drew Lock went to the Giants. Supposedly he was told he could compete for the starting job, so that'll be interesting there.
Wow.
Daniel Jones has been a bit on the hot seat as well, so a bit of a flick there. Again, backups trying to fight for starting jobs. And Jimmy G is going to go to the Rams and back them up. So I think that kind of only really leaves... because Mac Jones also got traded to the Jags.
Mac Jones,
So Zach Wilson.
So Pats will be going quarterback as well.
Would definitely think so, unless anything changes. Now, I guess Jimmy G signed with the Rams. That kind of really took out their connection. But yeah, it looks likely. Some chat about them potentially taking veteran, but there's not a lot of veterans left to then take like Harrison. But that's the chat. They'll go quarterback at 3. And what was I saying before? Zach Wilson is probably the last quarterback that needs to be moved.
Needs to be moved.
Yeah, it needs to be moved. I think he wants a fresh start, and the Jets have said they will accommodate. Because who's their backup quarterback? I'm sure they signed someone to be their backup for Rodgers. So they were going to move Wilson. But having said that, Fields got a 6th rounder. I'd say Wilson's going to get the same, if not less.
Tyrod Taylor.
They did. They signed Taylor to be their replacement in case Rodgers gets hurt. So yeah, I think Wilson's going to be out. They'll flick him somewhere. So Denver, Vikings, also potential places that maybe want to try a rebuild with Wilson as well.
What about the running backs? Thought there was a bit of quarterback movement. Jeez.
Well, where did it start? Maybe start with...
I've gone in like name order, and you can at me if I've got anyone out of order there.
I think it actually started with Barkley.
Barkley was the first
to
big,
the Eagles.
Was it Barkley or Jones?
It was the same,
because that was Jacobs. So yeah, I think it was Barkley to to Eagles, which then forced Swift to go to Bears. Jacob signs with Green Bay, so they release Jones, and then Jones is like, "Fuck you, I'm going to go to a divisional rival and sign with the Vikings,"
which is wild.
Yes,
like what he's done for that franchise, and the Green Bay just go NFL, not for long league. See ya, thanks but no thanks.
Because they've cut Madison, I think. So I don't think Madison's with that team. So I think he's still available. Somewhere.
Okay.
So that all happened. Then Eckler goes to the Commanders on a bit of an average deal to be, I guess, a role there. That means Gibson went to the Patriots. So he kind of takes over that role as the number 2 to Robinson. And then you've got, I think Henry ended up going to Baltimore. Yep. I think Dobbins is currently unsigned as well. So Dobbins is still out there, of course, coming back from another knee injury, or was it Achilles?
Achilles, I think he did.
Yeah, so Dobbins, I think, is off contract.
Still on the Ravens as it stands.
Yeah. Then Gus Edwards went to the Chargers, replacing Eckler. And I think that's the connections. And then finally, I guess Pollard then signs with Tennessee, replacing Henry. Cowboys haven't got anyone. There's talk about Zeke maybe going back to the Cowboys, leaving the Patriots. But then, because Gibson's at the Patriots. And then out of all that, Mixon was going to be released. And then Houston said, wait a minute, we'll take him. And they traded for Mixon. So Mixon leaves the Bengals and goes to Houston, which I think is an excellent ad for them. But they've...
You did a fucking amazing job of doing that. So all we've got on the screen at the moment, I wrote them out and I've got them there in like name order. So I've got King, Barkley, and it goes down to, no offense, Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards down the end. Pretty handy. Sean's just done that off the top of his head, played it out, the actual 3D chess as it happened, and I don't think you really missed a beat. So
this is stuff.
He had a couple of names to it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and actually,
well, there's no Antonio Gibson on that list.
This is stuff that gets me horny. Sorry, guys. So I think there's a few more. Which really interesting. RB market, super hot. Wide receiver market, not hot. And that has massively to do with the draft class that's coming out. Wide receivers, I've got 10 in the top 50. So like 1/5 of the top 50 is wide receivers. So they make up a large portion of them. And I think the body type leans more towards the bigger, like outside receivers versus we got more of the leaner inside receivers of recent memory. So there's a huge amount of those guys coming out, which means there hasn't been a lot of uptake at the moment. I know OBJ's been cut and his name value was out there on the list. Calvin Ridley was the big one. He got a big deal by Tennessee, which is quite interesting because he almost got the same deal that they didn't give to AJ Brown, who was 4 years younger at the time, which I think was Ridley's comment. It was like, 29's the new 25. So he's going to, I guess, catch balls from Levis going forward. Again, hopefully try to... build his career. Who went to the Jags then? Someone wide receiver must have gone to the Jags as a replacement.
For Ridley?
Yeah. I feel like they've gotten someone. While you figure that out for me, the big one was Keenan Allen got traded to Chicago. Chicago again loading up on weapons for the potentially Gabe Davis was the one they signed. Gabe Davis is their replacement for Ridley because Ridley was very much used as a deep route runner in that team. So Gabe Davis fits very well for them. Keenan Allen, Chicago loading up. They're added Swift as mentioned before. They're getting talent. They're getting ready. Which feel bad for Fields. They're now loading up all the talent for the quarterback when they didn't do it like that.
Which they didn't do for him.
But so feel very bad for him, but they're doing it now. I guess the new GM that's been in place for the last couple of years has now cemented himself with what he wants that team to look like. So he gets Keenan Allen, who wouldn't take a pay cut for the Chargers because he said, I'm coming off my best year. Why would I do that? So they said, see you later. Also cut Mike Williams as well. So they cut their two bigger, older wide receivers and then have kept the pass rushers and Bosa and Mack, who both restructured their deals to get them under the cap because they were. I think they're actually still over the cap. So they've been struggling numbers wise. So
How? They're just
They're just paying overs, I guess, for guys to play for the
They
Chargers.
just sent their two best offensive weapons and they're still over the cap.
Yeah, and restructured their two best defensive weapons and still over, and then lost a whole bunch of other guys as well. So, some of those rumors about maybe we need to move Herbert, trade him to the Vikings so that, they give us the picks, then we take McCarthy at 5 and then load up at 11 and 23 with young talent, maybe some more Michigan players for a high ball there. So, rumors. I don't think any of that will happen. I think they'll keep Herbert and the Vikings will probably trade up to take, say, McCarthy. But it's interesting, the connection there. Other news, Curtis Samuels went to Buffalo, I guess replacing Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie. Actually, Isaiah McKenzie wasn't there last year. And then Hollywood Brown becomes the Tyreek Hill replacement and goes to Kansas City.
Love to see that.
Yeah.
Deep threat. Mahomes would like that.
Yeah, I definitely, because MVS was out, and I don't think he's signed with anyone recently. Because, like we said, the wide receiver market's been pretty quiet of late.
Just going back to your comment before about the draft talent that's coming in the wide receiver areas, there could be 8 that go in the first round.
Yep.
So you said 10 top 50, and just to refine that.
Coleman ran very poorly, so he might fall out. But then
Worthy, Mitchell,
there's
Thomas,
there's Leggett, and
Dunzy, Neighbours,
Walker,
and obviously Harrison.
Yeah, Leggett, Walker.
McConkey's pretty good.
Might flow in there as well. There's some big body guys as well that might
Polk,
move up to.
Wilson from Michigan. We're getting ahead of ourselves now. This is probably second and third round, but legitimately, it wouldn't be surprising if 8 of 8 go in the first round, which is a quarter of the positions.
Yep.
Crazy.
Quick maths.
Maths lad.
Just going back to running backs as well, don't want to glaze over the fact that, Derrick Henry's now at Baltimore as well. That's massive for that team.
I want to talk about a few of those because it's quite similar in that
it's like alignment. I think it seems like perfect fits. Pairing Henry with Lamar makes so much sense for that team.
And Barkley with Hurts.
Yeah,
so we've got these incredibly gifted runners, both in very different ways. So Hurts, your goal line operator, the tush-push, you've got this big body, and now open field when you need options on third and long or, you need a big run, you've got this incredibly gifted open field runner in Saquon Barkley. And then the opposite in Lamar Jackson's the shifty, can run for 1,000 yards and doesn't score heaps of touchdowns, at least recently. Yeah. You pair him with one of the biggest running backs that's ever played football.
Yeah. Agree.
What kind of numbers are we thinking for both these guys? I'm particularly interested in Henry. I don't think we see him rush for 2,000 yards, but could like a 1,414 touchdown sort of year be on the cards for the King?
Yeah. That offense is going to be hard to figure out.
Fucking oath. Where's
so hard.
Yeah, Lamar's just going to be like,
the question is, does Lamar get the MVP again? Does Henry now...
does he open such more significant room for him? It's a really good question.
And they haven't had this bell cow kind of running back in recent.
Well, I guess Bus kind of fit, but Henry's a step above Gus.
Yeah, exactly. And no offense to Gus Edwards, who's also an elite athlete, he's not Derrick Henry. So they're going to be scary. Lamar running that read option with King as the decoy or getting the ball. When you're 5 yards out, fucking good luck.
Do you reckon this
But you got to remember they've got Ricard as well. They're, imagine Ricard and Henry are out in front and Lamar's running behind. This is good back. Corner safeties is fuck. I'm not. I'm taking a business decision.
Does this move also just put them over the line, over the hump? Are they now?
Does a running back change the team that much?
Do we see them in Super Bowl?
Yeah, but it's not just any running back.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not just any running back. But they weren't too far away last year. So
you think about what he's been for the Titans, and completely
different
offensive schemes. But he's carried that franchise.
I agree.
So you're taking someone of that caliber and putting it in an already electric offense.
Yeah,
I think the sky's the limit.
Did you add Zach Moss to that list? Or did I skip over Zach Moss?
He's in that. No, he's been in that list.
Yeah, because that's the one I missed because Zach Moss went to Cincinnati.
What an idiot!
Which started the trade for Joe Mixon. But I actually think they'll give Chase Brown the first look at that starting job for them, and Zach is the veteran that played really well last year filling in for JT. So I think he can definitely go some good carries there, but we'll see how that team plays out.
We must continue. We've already spoken about Bosa and Mack. There hasn't been huge defensive signings just yet.
The safety market was quite interesting because basically everyone was getting rid of the safeties.
So Jordan Poyer left.
Jordan Poyer, Justin Simmons couldn't cut. Yeah. There's a bunch of others, but I can't remember them all off the top of my head. But yeah, the safety market has been dead. Like they've all been released, and I think Poirier is probably one of the few that have actually been signed elsewhere. But the rest of them have all been kind of sitting out there waiting. So a lot of those guys got moved. I don't think there's been any big name cornerbacks. I think Fuller's probably
Kendall Fuller's the biggest name. Yeah, not a huge name.
Yeah, signed. Did Whitfield stay with?
Whitfield stayed with Bucks. Yeah, he resigned.
Yeah, but outside of that, I guess Armstead to Jags is a pretty good signing there. And, like you said, Fuller went to the Dolphins as the Howard replacement. So Howard's still out in the market. So I think in the second wave, we'll probably get a lot more defense. It seems like they've been heavy on the offensive side of it. Oh, again, a lot of corners coming out, a lot of good corners, a lot of big corners as well, guys over 6 foot. And a lot of good pass rushers. Like that's if you need corners, pass rushers, wide receivers, and offensive line talent, this is a draft for you. This is probably one of the better drafts in recent memory.
So exciting.
So yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Which just rolls us into the last little bits of draft stuff, and we'll then talk about Aaron Donald. So Vikings traded with the Texans, so they're currently got 23. You think they're going to use that as a bit of capital to maybe try and go higher?
It seems likely because I don't think did they sign a backup quarterback? James? Can you check the Vikings depth chart for me and see who's on their list for quarterbacks currently? But yeah, I think that's the main point. They're at 11. Their issue is they got Denver at 12 and Raiders at 13, who both want quarterbacks.
So they could be looking at quarterback 6 off the board at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So and their worries they're going to jump them. Now with the Falcons at 8. They could stay there or they could move out for one of these quarterback-needy teams. If, like we said, the Chargers don't take a quarterback at 5, then, they could look at wide receiver. But if these guys want to move up, they move back if they still get a good receiver. Same with the Cards. They could move back. And there's even some talk about, if Daniels goes 2, then the Patriots maybe don't get their guy. Maybe they want to move back a couple instead and, again, go that veteran route. Or take a wide receiver there. So, there's potential that, say, Drake might be available. May might be available there at round 4 and 5. So, yeah, they've now got the ammunition at 11 plus 23. They did give away next year's second. I think they've still got this year's second rounder. Is that right? No, they traded because that's what Texans have. So, Texans got 48, I think it was. So Texans
semantics,
yeah, but
just pulling pick numbers out of it.
I'm just trying to figure out like the ammunition to move from say 11 to 5 is a decent amount.
Yeah,
having 23 really helps, but I don't think they've got any second rounders left, which may hinder them a little bit. But there is a Justin Jefferson carrot out there to maybe trade to get more picks. So again, to potentially move up or be included in a move up.
Well, and they've also essentially shown their hand and what they reckon Justin Jefferson's worth, and they said no to T. Higgins and 2 first rounders from the Bengals.
True.
So what does that mean? 3 first rounder? What's it going to take for them to give up JJ?
Exactly. But you could go to the Chargers who want a wide receiver and go, hey, give us 5. We'll give you Jefferson and 23 maybe. Yeah. And then they keep 11. That's fun. That's potential, and the Chargers would jump at that. It was like, hey, we've got no wide receivers left. We'll definitely take. But
and we've already got our guy at quarterback.
Yeah, but the issue of that, of course, is they can't currently pay him, so they might have to clear out a whole bunch of other guys to be able to pay Jefferson his big contract, which is the issue. But connect some dots. There's definitely in play some stuff there. Denver, I guess, don't really have a huge amount of ammunition, but again, they've got some players they could potentially trade to then move up a couple spots as well. Get into the back end at 8. And are they all fighting after McCarthy? Maybe May drops a little bit, and then you're fighting over in that 6, 7, 8 spot, and they all would want a quarterback. Did you give me an answer on a backup?
Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Sam
right.
Darnold.
They signed Sam Darnold for $10 million 1 year, so he's their current backup. But they could, in theory, run with him for a year.
You've also got Nick Mullins there as well.
Yeah,
Not slouches, but not elite.
Yeah.
but that's the thing. They could get a rookie and sit him for a year behind Sam, and then take it from there.
Crazy week in the NFL. And
And it gets crazier.
Yeah.
With the retirement of Aaron Donald. Like that's retires at age 32, played 10 seasons, got to
Made the Pro Bowl every year.
Made the Pro Bowl every year. I think he was
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, multiple times. Or defensive
Rookie of the year.
Defensive Player of the Year multiple times.
Yep.
3 for him.
Which is tied with JJ Watt and
Lawrence Taylor.
LT. So for most ever.
And I think he was in the Madden 99 club 7 times as well.
Jesus.
Which is,
Wow.
the bloke's consistency was unreal. There's all the awesome vision of being triple and quadruple teamed. He's been so dominant, and he was an absolute dominant force since day dot. And 10 years, 111 sacks, averaging 11 a year. That's pretty bloody impressive, especially for an interior defensive lineman as well.
He's second amongst interior linemen behind John Randall. So incredible. Had he decided to play a bit longer in his career, certainly would have gone number 1 amongst defensive tackles.
But I think after winning the Super Bowl, there was all the retirement chat then.
Yeah.
And looking likely it was done, and I think McVay, I guess, talked him into it. Plus, I think getting to the double-digit 10 years probably really cements his Hall of Fame legacy as well. Retiring at 9 might have eked some of the older media that, hey, he didn't play long enough. But 10 years, getting double digits, I think definitely does it. And I think it was only him and Barry Sanders that kind of, finished with the kind of record that he did within 10 years as
10.
well. It's a pretty impressive resume. So,
Where does he rank in terms of defensive players ever? Is there an argument for him being the best defender of all time? Let me restructure.
The problem is Reggie White is going to be at top of that list for a lot of people. It's going to be very hard. He's definitely the most dominant player on defense in the last 15 years for sure. In this kind of era of defense, which is very different than how defense was played up until the 2000s. This game's very much an offensive focused game now. For him to be as dominant as he's been has kind of shown his talent.
Even comparing position to position, it's
I'd
throw some names
hard to
out?
weigh
and
that.
I'd be like for
say when?
defensive line players, on the defensive line, I'd happily have him 2 behind Reggie White. Because I guess LT's more an outside linebacker. In my thinking, he's
who else had close to 200 sacks? Bruce Smith. Literally the only player that ever had 200 sacks. So probably an argument there as well. Deacon Jones, 173 sacks. I don't. Yeah.
So
I think it's hard to make an argument for him being the greatest defender of all time, given that he's only played 10 seasons.
Exactly. Longevity will hurt him, but
impact in those 10 years, you could probably argue it there.
Yeah, and especially in considering his size,
he's got abs.
Yeah. For a bloke that's what is he?
6'1", 280.
I was going to say somewhere in that 270, 290, depending on what he's playing at for that season. But he's not the monster Jordan Davis type interior defensive lineman. But he's just wickedly quick after the ball, great hands, and unreal strong, unbelievably strong for his size. So, and I guess uses his leverage really, really well.
I've got a CBS article here from today, which has got the greatest defenders of all time. They've got Reggie White, the Minister of Defence, 1, Lawrence L.T. Taylor, 2, Ray Lewis, 3, Dion Primetime Sanders, 4, and Aaron Donald comes in on the list on 5. I think that's a reasonable. I've gone through the reasons why and the justifications there. But just looking at face value, I'm reasonably happy with that. I'm happy for you to call him the greatest modern defender, the greatest interior lineman of all time. But yeah, I think it's maybe just that added stretch going straight to greatest defender of all time.
Where was JJ Watt on that list?
Yeah, that was interesting. I was thinking the
Didn't
same
quite
thing.
crack the top 10, poor JJ Watt. So,
but
him and LT also the only players to win 3 defensive players of the year. So JJ Watt didn't make this top 10, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some we had several years of injuries as well back end, which I think maybe hurt him for like his average sack numbers. I think he got to 100, but he didn't get very far over 100. Because Von was a decent chunk in front of him, and they both were drafted in the same.
I feel like being the best defender in the league 3 years running has to hold some weight there for JJ.
I definitely agree. But he might not even be the best pass rusher in his family. So
The old Mark War argument.
he's the younger or older brother, retired.
JJ's older.
Yeah, no,
significantly.
Their other brother just retired as well.
Oh, the fullback.
He plays fullback. Yeah.
I forgot about him. The Forgotten War.
Yes. Even more forgotten brother. Yeah.
Jason Kelsey also.
Can't remember if we talked about him.
I don't think we spoke about it last pod.
It happened the day after.
Yeah, another guy that's definitely, I think, would have very strong arguments for being in the Hall of Fame. Dominant centre for a very, very long time. Already a bit sad with the amount of moves the Eagles have been doing, loading up. But yeah, I think he's done everything in his career. I think the Eagles getting the Super Bowl win with him there, I think really cemented it and signed off his career on a very good note.
That's it. Yep. So he was that Super Bowl champion, 6-time first team All Pro, 7 Pro Bowls, and 2 second team All Big East.
How many starts did he make?
Games played 193. Games started 193.
Yeah.
So started every game. He had a mad consecutive run as well, so very durable.
Yep.
That'll do us for the NFL. Huge week, and a month to go to the draft, just over. So we'll be having we're going to do a live draft show again this year, the day after Anzac Day for Aussies.
Correct.
Yep.
So
a lot of people taking that day off anyway.
Definitely.
All right, let's wrap this bitch up. Let's get into a final round. UFC 299 went down in Miami last weekend, and Sugar Sean O'Malley put on an absolute striking masterclass and now has an official win against Marlon Chito Vera. Did lose to him a few years ago. Has come on leaps and bounds in his overall game, particularly his striking since then. And kudos to the toughness of Chito, who copped that huge knee that really rocked his head back, and you could hear the sound of the shot. So definitely nothing wrong with his chin. O'Malley landed 230 significant strikes. The judges scored it 50-45, 50-45, 50-44. So one judge going with a 10-8 in there. Absolute masterclass. And the question is now, who will Sugar Sean get next? And is anyone up to the task?
Yeah, well, Marab. So that's the...
Is that confirmed? Just about close enough.
But yeah, he's the number one contender. Like, if they stay in division, that'll be him. There is the talk about him going up weight to featherweight and then
tall enough to
taking on. Funny stat. He's the exact same size and reach as Daniel Cormier is, who was in heavyweight. But that's funny. But to go to featherweight, take on Ilya for that belt. So some talk about that, but. Marab is the main one, the machine, as he will. He ran through Cejudo and he was there.
Picking him up, dude.
Yeah, exactly. For an Olympic champion, double gold medalist. So, really showed his skill set, and he's on a massive win streak. No one's even close.
So it makes sense. So Dvalishvili, 10-win streak at the moment. Just spoke about what he did to Cejudo, and Sterling's already got a fight locked in against Calvin Kattar
at 300, which is not too far away.
Only in a few weeks. So I suppose if Aljo wins that, he could put in an argument to get his, to
Another shot.
run it back. But I think everything's pointing in the way of the number one contender.
What's also
in Marab
interesting, I'm
Dvalishvili.
pretty sure that fight's at featherweight for Aljamain as well.
Oh, it is. Yeah, he's going up, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So
what does it matter if he goes up and beats a featherweight? I suppose?
exactly, because him and Marab are training partners. They're teammates. So they've never wanted to compete against it. So when Aljamain was champion, like he sat there as number one contender because he didn't want to compete against it. But now, like O'Malley's there, he can have his shot, which I think is also the reason why Sterling's gone up a division, giving him a chance.
So not officially a done deal, but it's pretty much as good as locked in, I'd reckon. There,
Makes
the
most sense.
No one else, like, yes, Sandhagen and Jan have both won recently, but I think it's like he's definitely the number one contender. Like.
He's beaten both of them, hasn't he? He's definitely beaten Jan.
Yes.
Did he? Maybe he hasn't fought Sandman.
Don't think he did.
No, he hasn't bet. So Sandman might put his case up there, but he's beaten Jan back at UFC.
Maybe
280
Sandhagen's fought Marab
and lost. Yeah,
Lost.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So again, do the UFC math. I think he's there at the top.
No,
He lost to Jan. There you go.
Yeah, and Dillashaw.
Yeah. Very.
So he's on a 3 fight win streak. So Corey the Sandman Sandhagen might be putting his hand up.
Yeah. It'd be close, but again, 10 fight win streak, dominated in the division, dominated the guy that just lost to Sterling like in a title fight. So I think that's makes the most sense to me.
Trying to make sense of things. How did Cheeto not succumb to the blows that he was taking here? Like, can you just be that mentally tough? Like,
Just born with an unbelievable chin.
Yeah.
Thick skull.
Yeah, weathered the storm. Like it's impressive. It was actually an interesting fight because very tactical with O'Malley dominating on the outside, being able to essentially snipe, jump in and jump out without taking any damage. But as the fight went on, Cheeto actually in the back end of the round,
4th and 5th.
Yeah, when he could get the fight dirty, like get it in close, he was landing some more shots, some more clean shots, and especially that the body shot with just on the bell was a big one, and it really hurt O'Malley. Like he had to stay down afterward, but I guess the end of the fight, letting it all out as well probably played a part in it. But he had his chances late, but O'Malley was too good and was too dominant throughout the whole fight.
In the lightweight fight before it, Dustin Poirier ended the 5-fight win streak of Benoit Saint-Denis with a knockout via punches. It was the old left-right good night. The left hook dropped him.
You could really see that.
He was wobbling, and then the right hook finished him.
You really see the difference in power from Dustin. I'm surprised he wanted to wrestle so much, but don't be silly. Jump the gilly. It was a joke with all the guillotine jokes, but his team kept telling him to stop doing it, but he was like, "No, I'm going to keep going." But in the end, it didn't matter. He got the knockout there. Saint Denis was talking a little bit about, he had an infection, and there was some rumors about his.
Yeah, he had staph.
The picture on his forehead with the mark on it was like, "Oh, he's got staph infection," and he said, leading up to, he was on antibiotics. When do you not take the fight? Do take the fight? It was a bit of that, but
that can't really fall on him. There's lots of medical professionals in there that
dot on his head, etc. So there was some question marks there, but he stepped in there and looked okay. Maybe he's not as good as I think I've seen him in the past, but he wrestled hard, and Dustin really had to take it to him, and with the power shot, he could knock him out. But I don't think he'll BSD will say too far away. I think he'll be back in there in the not too distant future and be back at the top of that division again.
Just looking at age for Poirier, because this division is starting to get quite old at the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
Poirier's 35. Gaethje be about the same, wouldn't he?
Yep. Gaethje's got Holloway at 300.
Yep, so Gaethje's 35.
And Oliveira is fighting at 300 as well.
He's 34.
Yeah. So I think they're thinking Dustin to take on Islam in the not too distant future.
Islam's the youngest of that bunch at 32.
Yep. But he hasn't fought in a hot minute.
Yeah, since the Volk fight.
Elsewhere in that card, we also had Michael Van Page making his debut and really showed a striking masterclass over Kevin Holland, the mouth, who couldn't really get it like dirty enough for his type of fight, and Venom Page kind of really showed his accomplishments there. Did spend 10 years fighting in Bellator, and he'll be an interesting one in that welterweight division. Can he rise up?
We come straight in and get the ranking now.
Yep.
It's interesting because you're probably the most overall fight fan out of the three of us. I've obviously watched a lot of the UFC, but I know the name MVP.
Yeah, huge in the UK, so that's one thing.
But interesting to see him come from Bellator and piece up a UFC.
Good fighter.
Good fighter in Holland.
Yeah, well, he's definitely been fighting for a long time. He's definitely well known. There's potential he might get fast tracked because being UK based, Venom Page versus Leon Edwards fight in the UK in a football stadium seems very, very, very juicy.
He did get a ranking.
Welterweight.
Let me get it here.
13.
13.
Yeah. Delhi moving up as well with his win recently too. So
got to talk about that. That's the biggest story out of this in terms of Aussie fight fans. So JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, goes up against
Gilbert Burns.
Former contender for welterweight just a few years ago when he lost to Usman. And he snapped his left ulnar, his forearm, pretty much
in the first round.
And early in the first round. I was watching it back, maybe blocking a kick. I'm not exactly sure. But the X-ray is interesting. Clean snap of that ulnar. Incredibly tough, and definitely lost the first round.
Well,
probably lost the second.
Yeah, I think on scorecards he was lost the first 2 rounds of most judges' scorecards. But yeah, the wrestling in the third. Burns, of course, being very much a strong jiu-jitsu practicer, black belt, and that I think was pushing very much for a finish in that. But Jack did the job of creating the distance, and I think kind of reminiscent of Aldo versus Mendes. On the break, span around, knee straight to the face, and that's all she wrote. And then finishes it up, and
the finish was crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that knee that just went straight through, and some nasty elbows and hammer fists at the end there.
Yeah.
So he hasn't lost in the UFC. He's 7-0. He hasn't lost a fight period since 2016. Catapults up to 5th.
Yep.
And then he calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov, who
call out.
Everyone is dodging.
It's
in the division at the moment. Yeah. So he hasn't lost. Is he Kazakh? Is he a Borat kind of operator?
Or Mongolian?
I think he's Kazakh. Nomad is his nickname. Let's do a little run there on Shavkat for us. I don't think he's lost either. Certainly not in the UFC.
Oh yeah, he's been dominant. He's massive as well for welterweights. Some interesting fights upcoming, like where Usman fits back in.
18-0, dude.
Yeah.
Well, he's had six
in the UFC.
6 in the UFC.
So yeah,
including Wonderboy, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny.
Fits very well, I guess, there for Jack. Where was he from, Jimmy?
Kazakh.
He was Kazakh. Yeah.
My name is Borat.
Uzbek.
Oh, fuck off, Uzbek. I got a Kazakhstan.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, okay. So he was born in Uzbekistan. He is Kazakhstani.
Fuck you, Uzbek. Don't flag us, YouTube. That's just Borat being racist, not us.
I think the only other interesting in that division is the ongoing talk with Colby and Gary at the moment about whether they put their fight together or not.
Where's Usman at? His knees are
commentary
pretty cooked. Yeah,
he's basically. I think he said on commentary that he's looking to see how he heals. But of course, he's also fought in middleweight recently. So whether he looks to continue at that division or not.
He's 36, the Nigerian nightmare.
Yeah, not getting any younger. And with Ngannou getting knocked out the other day, that Israel, Usman, Volk, Ngannou picture, hasn't aged well. How a couple of years can really change, from all dominant champions to getting knocked out.
Did Drake take that picture? Ended up getting cursed, bro.
Yeah, well, I think Drake did bet on Ngannou, and he did also bet on Volk, I'm pretty sure as well. So there you go.
The curse,
the Drake curse. Yeah.
The frogget is
just likes the
Petian, Song Yadong.
As we mentioned, Petian beat Song Yadong there as well to, I guess, snap his losing streak and get back into that conversation in that bantamweight division.
Briefly, today, Tai Tuivasa, unfortunately, lost in the first round to
It's 3 years since we've had a
Matsin.
Shuey, unfortunately.
Yes, he's lost 4 in a row. So
Yeah.
he's sliding down the rankings, unfortunately.
Yeah, weathered the storm here, unfortunately, and couldn't get the finish, and then got submitted by a rear naked, I believe, and
Yep.
that's all she wrote.
Luckily, Taibura is only ranked 1 below him, so hopefully he only drops down to 10, maybe 11, maybe.
Still fun. There was a massive heavyweight on the UFC 298 on the undercard as well, who's I think Canadian come through.
299?
I think it was 299. It wasn't. Yeah, this one. 18 seconds.
Oh, Rebelli d'Espagne?
Yeah.
Cuban.
Does he have a medal? What's he medaled in? Because he's Taekwondo background, gold medal. That's at the Caribbean Games, but he fought.
Yeah,
at
that's
the
there's
Olympics.
a bronze there in
Bronze
the Olympics in
Olympics.
Taekwondo.
Yeah.
6'7", I think he is. Big human being,
Jeez.
and he's had 4 fights. This was his first in the UFC. 18 seconds of this, and the other 3 had lasted a combined 19 seconds.
Jesus.
Wow.
So yeah,
Nicknamed the big boy.
Big boy.
the big boy. So yeah, he's. Heavyweights can move. My point is, heavyweights can move very quickly. The rankings, the big boys can come in and blow up as they just knock each other out. So, he's an interesting one to look coming forward. Big human being, scary. Is pretty old actually.
Yeah, 35.
But yeah,
Can
getting
just
this run in the UFC.
if the Taekwondo people that run the weight divisions at the Olympics are listening to this, sort this shit out, because he fought in over 80 kilos, and according to his profiles, 117. Oh,
I hate to be an 80 kilo kid going.
Maybe
There.
put some weight on. To get
yeah,
into
maybe
MMA.
beefed up a little bit. That was at London 2012. How about the 2 blokes that went past him? He only got the bronze there. Yeah, so keep an eye on him. But again, limited window. It's just sort of like like you're saying with
Another dude that
MVP,
might get fast tracked. Yeah. I think that's does us for fighting.
Give us some F1, monks.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, I think we'll make this pretty quick on this one because Max Verstappen wins Formula 1 races.
Water wet.
Yeah, Red Bull have been dominating on the course. I guess the big conversation is the ongoing Christian Horner saga as they lead into Australia. So they're here this weekend, I think it is.
Yep, this weekend.
Here in Australia, in Melbourne. But the Christian Horner saga, quite interesting. It kind of, I think, follows... because where we ended last podcast, it was they just released all his sexting, all his illicit messages. But I guess the story is that he wanted Marco. So there's a big power triangle with Marco, Horner, and the Verstappens. So Horner wanted Marco gone last year, couldn't get it done. So then I think the report is, and Marco is also really tight with Josh Verstappen. So with Verstappen, so sounds like they tried to then get rid of Christian Horner, who was almost going to be sacked by the CEO of Red Bull, but then Horner lawyered up. Then the lawyers found it was like, there's not a lot here. So he's essentially won that. He's then essentially tried to get Marco sacked again. Rumors are Marco's the one that leaked all the text messages and got it out there to again try to push to get Horner sacked. Because then there's talk about if Marco goes in Max Verstappen's contract, if he goes, he can go elsewhere. So in walks Toto Wolff from Mercedes going, hey, I've got a spot for you. Why don't you come to us? And then if that happens, Aidan Newey basically has an open a deal on the table to go build Le Mans cars because he wants to build a 24-hour GT car. So they could also lose Aidan Newey. And then Ford, who had got the deal with Red Bull to do their engines going forward, are trying to get out of this deal because they're like, hey,
it's a shit show.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
Yeah.
Like the thing's blowing up in front of us. So there seems to be a lot of politics and a lot of backroom deals going on with nothing real clear. What also has followed out is the female staffer involved, has made an official complaint, as essentially hasn't been found guilty, Horner here, but she's now been suspended from her job. So effectively unemployed at the moment. Red Bull has cemented her. And now she's kind of doing.
I think she was suspended with pay.
Yeah, but she's also taking the angle, of course, is like, hey, I'm the victim essentially of this here. I'm trying to bring this to light, and now I'm being punished for that. So there's a bit of that happening as well in this. So yeah, like you're saying, the shit show that's going on around at Red Bull on the race course, on the track, they are completely dominant. They've been 1-2 in the first 2 races. Probably will continue. I don't see any of the teams at this stage really making the leap to challenge them yet, because they've been so far ahead of everyone else. But yeah, there's so much other stuff happening in the background.
A lot of politics.
Yeah, a lot of politics. And then, of course, he's got a megastar wife as well, and she gets drawn into all of this as well. And as reports written, torn strips off him, and written in the riot act, because there's no pictures, but there's a lot of very sexual innuendos and things. Yeah, like whether it was considered more flirting than harassment, I think is probably where his lawyers have gone. But she obviously wanted it stopped, and then has brought it to light, and that's of course impacted on him. So as of now, everyone's still in place. Horner's still got his job. Marco, I think they've re-upped They've re-upped his deal as well, so he sounds like he's going to be there for another 2 years. So it sounds like they're all going to be in the same place, but this power triangle, as you will, still seems to be playing. And that's why. It's the other way around, but yes.
Helmut Marko.
It seems to be still playing out, and I think Mercedes Toto Wolff's doing his job in the media, saying, hey, this is a bad look for F1, they got to do something, can Christian continue, or kind of pushing the agenda, because he wants them to blow up so that he can have a potential chance of Max Verstappen coming back to Mercedes. So that's what his play is. So it's pretty interesting, I guess, the politics. This will be ongoing. If you thought Drive to Survive was good in the past, next season, if they can get any of this, is going to be amazing. And Ferrari sitting off to the side, thinking, also licking their lips. How many Red Bull engineers can we steal in this process? How many guys can we get? They're pushing, of course, to get Adrian Newey as well. But it sounds like Newey, if Marco goes, he'll go as well, and potentially out of F1 as well, go do something else for a little while.
He's 80, Helmut Marko. Didn't realise he was that old.
But he's one of the massive power brokers for Red Bull, because it's Austrian company, etc. So
so on the allegations, the employee in question is now suspended, has just also lodged. So the investigation was done by Red Bull or in-house.
Independent in-house.
She has now lodged grievances with the FIA, calling on them to do an investigation as well. So this is like the next step up.
Essentially an appeal.
To look into it.
Yeah, it's going to keep going on. And whether we hear something in Australia would be quite interesting in the next GP. But it's, again, going to be in the focus. It's going to be
longer than that to all develop.
That's it.
I think they also want a fast resolution, because we're talking about it. Lots of people are talking about it. It's quite an interesting power/love triangle.
That's it. It's also come to light in the last week or so that the president of FIA there's allegations that he tried to meddle in the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix as well. So just lots of dirty controversy floating around the F1 at the moment.
You talk powerful men with big salaries in a massive leagues sport with lot of money on the line. They're gonna. It's a lot of egos, a lot of power. There's a lot on the line, as we say. So they're gonna push their agenda as much as possible.
And heading into Melbourne, for me as a casual F1, what should I be on the lookout for?
Oscar's been doing well.
Enticing.
Think about the Australians. Oscar's been doing well there for McLaren, being competitive. He finished 4th or 5th in the last race. He had a pretty decent result. I think he outscored Lando, which is really good. Ricciardo has been struggling. Yuki's been doing better than him. So seeing maybe a result from Ricciardo, maybe push for points, but outscore Yuki essentially. and keep pushing that Visa Cash app car above the Haas and Kick Sauber, etc. So that for Australian fans is definite.
Yep.
But yeah, see the domination that is Red Bull. See if Max Verstappen can go around and dominate in Australia again.
Yep.
Or maybe it's a change. Who knows? Maybe someone finally shows their hand and Ferrari wins the race or Mercedes wins the race and they're like, hey, we've got a competitor. We've got a competition on our hands.
Yeah. So Piastri's got 16 points. Norris has got 12.
Yeah, he did finish 4th in that last race.
Yep.
So wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for him to sneak a podium?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And, something happens and he's been up at the top there, like he could even win the damn thing. So that's the hope, having an Australian win an Australian Grand Prix. But he's got the
51-1 for that.
Yeah, but he's got the Red Bull wall in front of him, unfortunately. And Ferrari have been just as competitive in that space.
That'll kick off this weekend. The Australian Grand Prix live from Melbourne. Massive thing for Melbourne.
Huge
the
event.
city, from about 500,000 people sort of roll through over the weekend.
They got all the supercars and stuff down there as well. So, it's a huge event.
Just finishing off with some soccer. It's in a different spot than normal, Monks. If you wouldn't mind getting the table up. Tottenham got hammered last night for Fulham. It's not good for their Champions League aspirations. They'd done the hard job, I thought, last week and beat Aston Villa.
I did like some of Ange's comments during the week saying, 4th isn't the goal. Like,
yeah,
he of course he's going to say we want to win it, but for this season, yes, 4th goal. But
fair enough, they're 11 points behind. So
but
good luck turning that around in 10 games. Love you, Ange, but I think the goal's Champions League. But City and Liverpool had that massissive game last week, which ended in a draw.
Yeah.
So Arsenal obviously licking their lips, and they play City next. So essentially it's all the big games playing out.
Has that really brought Liverpool back into the conversation then? With them
getting the draw, definitely. I think if they won, it would have been, massive story for them. It's essentially
for the winning team, would it have?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 6-point turnaround, because you're winning, but your rival's also not getting the 3 points. But I think this City Arsenal game, which is not this weekend, but which is a fortnight away.
Yep.
That's going to be telling. Moving forward at the top there, Arsenal fucking love scoring goals. 70. They've scored more goals in 2024 than United have this season.
Yep.
Let that sink in. So 70 goals for their United, 39 on the season. Yeah. So going down there, Spurs still within Kui, definitely for Champions League. I think Ange.
Who are they playing next? Is that Luton?
Luton, yep. Yeah. So should win that.
United
6, West Ham 7, Brighton 8, middle of the table, and then down to relegation zone. Sheffield good as gone, Burnley as good as gone. And then it's Luton, Forest, Everton, Brentford, Palace, all sort of in danger zone there.
Yep. Yeah, Luton with a game behind Forest and Everton.
Yep. FA Cup's getting to the pointy end. Bit of football. Looks like it's all playing out in Germany as well. It looks like Leverkusen probably going to win Bundesliga, which is fun. Champions League too. So Arsenal went through on pens against Porto, so it means Arsenal and City through to the quarters. Real and Barca are through. PSG's through. Missing a few, Monks, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, who got someone got bounced out, I think, by was it
Bournemouth. Champions League.
No, sorry, not Bournemouth. What's
Bayern.
Bayern.
Keep scrolling. Yeah, there. All right, so
Bayern Munich is.
So Atletico get through Inter, so Inter's gone. Borussia get through Eindhoven. PSG knocked out Real Sociedad. Yep. Barcelona knocked out Napoli. Arsenal on pens go through against Porto. Munich knocked out Lazio. Real Madrid knock out Leipzig, and City way too good for Copenhagen. Didn't know that the quarterfinals have been drawn. So Atletico get Borussia, PSG Barca, Arsenal Bayern, Real Madrid City. Wow. Yeah. So look, they're all tough games at this stage of the tournament, but pretty hard for the English clubs. They're drawing, the biggest team in Germany and the biggest team in Spain, essentially. But
It'd be fun if they win, though.
It's all
an Arsenal Manchester semi, but
well, it's a weird world. It's a weird world that we live in. If City and Arsenal go through and then don't draw each other, United might be cheering for one of them to win the Champions League because if they win the Champions League, that'll open up another spot in England for United to play Champions League football next year. So you could, we could be living in a world where United fans are cheering on City or Arsenal to win the Champions League. But they've got to get through these quarterfinal games, which look pretty difficult as it stands. They are not far off their start of April.
Yep.
That'll do us.
It's been a long one.
Fucking massive episode. Probably didn't
been.
anticipate as much movement in the NFL,
NFL,
to coincide with start of our footy. Test cricket for the last time in 8 months. A huge UFC card, so that's probably why it all played out being a bit of a longer ep. We'll keep you posted when next ep's dropping. Easter is upcoming, so we need to work our way around that. We will clip this up into a few clips. If you don't like the long format stuff, check out some of the short stuff there. They drop on our YouTube, and we'll either be back in a week or two. We'll see you next time here on the Esky.
bye.
Bye.